Singing this song, I see I was wrong. To chain you down, I was the clown. I'm singing this song, I see I was wrong. To chain you down, I was the clown. I know now what you're all about. I've had the time to run out. I pray for the touch of your hand. Your love is so, so grand, oh baby.
All right, smash that like. Thank you so much. Somebody was at the door. I had to answer. This guy was posing, believe it or not, as an APS person saying, "Didn't you receive the thing in the mail?" And I'm like, "What is this, man? You're a door-to-door salesman, basically." I gotta get back in. Anyway, sorry for the interruptions. Glad to be here. Sorry to put out the notice yesterday that I wouldn't be here with you guys. Kind of had to leave abruptly, but I should have posted something at least on Twitter. I was thinking that Larry was going to start like right at 6 or 6:15, but that didn't end up happening, and it's all right. All right, so I'm going to start off with the first comment. It is from the one and only Tim Shea. Thank you for being here, Merit Crypto Tim Shea. I keep hitting the smash that like. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to hit this one. 589th representing Tim Shea. Again, thank you. Merit Crypto Commissioner. Thank you for being here. All right, let me turn on a few things, and then we're going to get into some of the comments. 14 people. Again, smash that like. Let's see how we're doing on it real quick. We are at 8 likes. All right. We could do a little bit better than that. It just simply helps get it out to a broader base. All right. Next up, we got the wonderful Brittany. She said, "Happy Friday." Thank you again for being here, Ms. Brittany. And we also have the one and only Boomer Effing Sooner, who says, "Sup, Mighty Max." Let me just fix this chair. Man, it's like brutally hot outside. I mean, then you sit down, it's just like you absolutely like stick to the chair. It's ridiculous. So freaking hot outside in Phoenix. It's like, I don't know, it's like 115 or something out there. It's a brutal one. But glad to have you here, Mr. Boomer Effing Sooner. All right. We're also going to welcome Josh Cornwell, the man, JC the man. He goes like this all the time. It looks like he's flexing, but if you look close, he's going like this. Welcome, Josh Cornwell. Follow him at JC the man. On top of that, we have the one, the only Sobo. She says she's traveling home on the road from northern Michigan. Wanted to say hi and watch the show. Well, cool. You know what? We have people who listen to the show and not just watch the show. So, I do it too. Like I'll listen to Richard Common Sense Crypto. I'll listen to a few other programs. A lot of times it's just listening anyhow. You don't have to do the whole visuals. So shout out to you, Sobo. Always glad to have you here, whether you're watching on your phone, computer, driving down the road. Shout out to the truckers who do that. Linois, Iron Mart Online. There's a few other guys. We really do appreciate you tuning in. All right. Again, please smash that like. Let's go further down into the comments. And Edward Vincent's in the house, the star of the, I don't know, you know what I'm going with this, man. The star. All right. The shining star. Thank you for the likes, Mr. Edward Vincent, a.k.a. Squidward. I'll just leave you guys with that. All right. Give me the dabs. Really appreciate that. Blackwood is in the house. Elbow cough. I don't do the elbow cough anymore. Also want to welcome Mr. Brian Dowie in the house. But yeah, Blackwood, good to have you as well, Brian Dowie. Salamander, the XTC commander, says Yahoo Max is in the house. Yes, thank you. I did get to see a brief bit of yesterday. No offense to Mr. Larry, but anyway, I do thank him for at least doing it. He kept the streak alive, I guess. I guess that's the point he's going after. Let's give you guys a heads up. Maybe in the future, I mean, I don't know for sure. It's nice that we have shows every day, but I don't know. In the future, things may change. It just depends. So we'll give you guys a heads up if any type of format changes. It doesn't mean that the format as far as 6 o'clock, was it 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. shows go away. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do 5 days, 7 days a week type of thing in the future. I go down to 4 days. I don't know. But I'll let you guys know nonetheless. It ain't going to be something like boom, no notice or anything, kind of like yesterday. But yeah, I had to abruptly leave to go pick up my dad. And I was kind of upset with the people at the hospitals, like no good communication. So anyway, let's go further down into the comments. We also have butt sweat Max in Phoenix. Yeah, it's not butt sweat. It may look like I'm trying to adjust that. It's literally the bottom of my leg sticking to this chair, and it's driving me nuts sometimes. I don't like that feeling, It's just like, I guess if you sat on a leather or vinyl chair, right, and it was real hot, and you came, it just kind of that feeling of like it's gonna pull your skin off or whatever. I don't know. I know some people are like, well, then why don't you just go with a cloth one, Max? Yeah, I have, and that chair is not as comfortable as this one. So it's kind of like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. So no, not butt sweat. I knew that the term butt would come up sometime, either through mud butt or butt sweat. All right. Thanks for being here. Salamander, XDC Commander, Jack Jack W. Let's get this party started. Welcome. Glad to have you. Top of that, we got Mr. Steve Rose. Steve, what happened to your avatar, man? Really, what happened to it? You had the best avatar in all crypto. Half side is Gilbert Verdian. The other side is, was it a T600 or T800? Is it T800? I can't remember. But anyways, the one that, is Terminator. Okay. I complimented you on your wonderful avatar and you deleted it. Oh, all right. Hello. When do you think Litecoin really will pop? Curious when you think it will be before the halving. How much do you think? I don't have the answers on that, man. I never been invested in Litecoin. I do recognize the opportunity on it. I will, if I was gonna, I guess you could say, just on the surface in regards to Litecoin, I would say probably because of this whole thing of the halving and so on. I don't know if before the halving there's going to be a pop off or after the halving. To me, it'd be more towards after the halving. To me that would make a little bit more sense. Again, I've never been invested in Litecoin. I've been aware of it for many years. Should have got into it back in when I first saw Litecoin. I think I saw it the same time when I saw BTC, Ethereum. Those are the top 3 for the longest time. Yeah, I'm not gonna even BS you on that, man. Part of me doing my own research, but if I got into LTC, I would want to research it more, but it'd probably be just recognizing it's been around for a long time. Some of the things you mentioned, and then on top of it, it'd be a form of aping in. So I'm not going to even try to go there. That's something I don't do. I don't really try to talk a lot about something I don't know about, because I mean, in reality, there's over 22,000 cryptos. Yeah, that one's been around for forever. Yeah, I get it, but I don't want to elaborate anymore on it. But I'm sure there's opportunity there. I will say that there's probably opportunity there. But yeah, sorry if that disappoints you or what's his face, the other guy with the avatar. I can't even think of his name right now. The guy that was causing trouble. You guys know what I'm talking about. He's probably listening, but I want to say his name is Nick. That is not his name. I can't think of his name. I cannot think. Scott Hill. There we go. Shout out to Scott Hill, the guy with the Litecoin. LT. He's like, I don't know. I don't even know if he's LTC Max. Maybe that's just the original project he got into. Who knows? You know what I mean? All right. But I'm glad to have you here, though, Steve Rose. So, boom, right back at you. Why die? It say oh, it's because it doesn't interpret it. And on top of that, I used that elbow cough. So when I started being a teacher, started my last contract or whatever for last calendar school year, teaching 5th and 6th grade, you end up catching stuff from the kiddos. It's just the way it goes, right? That's why you got to build up your immune system. So I caught something and I couldn't shake it for like 2 months. So I would mute the mic. This was like back in August and September of last year. And I would mute the mic and then I would cough into my elbow. And then everybody would like spam that across the screen. And then finally I got better. Anyway, I don't think you were watching the show at that point, but that's okay. No, that's not Coke. This is passion fruit. Anyway, may have another drink of that. It's good stuff. Passion fruit. All right. Did you get that from Caroline? You probably got that from Caroline. Okay. All right. Let's have a good time. All right. I'll read a few more comments. I already told you. Yeah, it's just a little inside joke from people who watched way back then. All right. Yeah. Steve Rose is in the house. Blackwood, not BlackRock. All right. Thumbnail. Welcome, everybody. Cool Cat Crypto's in the house. He always makes his interest be known. Welcome to the Cool Cat. All right, welcome. Salamander XDC Commander says, feeling caliente, Max, with Jasmine, QNT, and XRP. All of those that you just mentioned will have its rightful coverage. But in the meantime, we need people to smash that likes. We're at 17 likes. I also see another super chat came in. I do appreciate that. All right. Yeah, no, I get that, Steve. No problem, man. You're more than welcome. Big Dave is in the house. Welcome back to Big Dave. If we have Big D also in the house, is that who he is? Big D? Never mind. Dave, there's Big Dave, and there's another guy with a Big D. I don't know. Now you guys are going to go run with that. I'm sure you are. Oh, Caroline knows the big... Oh, jeez. All right. What caused the spike earlier today in Jasmine price? I would imagine it's just the overall crypto market kind of going up a little bit, but we'll talk about some of these key things here in a bit. All right. Read just a couple more until I get that super chat. Blackwood, it doesn't say elbow. That's just what Max calls it. Well, it does on my screen. So let me show you just proof before I get to that super chat. Just real quick. I'll show you. I'll even highlight it. Okay. Just to give you an idea. Hopefully it's still on the screen somewhere. Maybe it went away. I know my luck, it went away. Lame. I think, there it is. So on your guys' screen for YouTube, okay, it shows like, the emoji and all that. But when I click on StreamYard, look what happens on my screen. See? That's how it comes across. So when I was going through the whole thing of, I caught something from the kiddos, right? I was thinking everybody was making fun of me because I was always coughing because I was doing that a lot, because, like going to especially like when my mom had cancer and I was going to the visitor in the hospital all the time. There's signs literally plastered everywhere long before COVID, right? Because she passed away in 2019, before the whole thing, COVID broke out here. But yeah, signs everywhere. You go in the hospital, says, the proper way to cough is to cough in your elbow. You know what I mean? Think about it. Like, you could, if you cough in your hand, you're going to touch a doorknob or, you know what I mean? Like, you guys are smart. But you cough in your elbow. What am I do? Go turn a doorknob with my elbow? No. So it's a perfect place to cough. But I kept doing it on screen and people are like, elbow cough, Max. Anyway. Let's thank and get down to this. Thank you so much, Big Dave, for the $5 super sticker, as well as Salamander. A really nice way to start things off. I do appreciate you guys. Another thing I also appreciate is when you guys do hit the like. Please hit the like. But yeah, thank you, Big Dave. And I'm glad to be here with you guys on this Friday. I had a horrible day. I was up since like 4 a.m. yesterday. I mean, I know a lot of us get up early, but at some point you have a break and you rest. I didn't get to rest at all, not even for like 10 or 15 minutes yesterday. And when I I don't know. I guess just have my arms in a certain position all day. I felt like I like was an extremely old man or something. I had like feel like I had like osteoporosis in my elbows. It just my elbows were killing me today. And I guess I don't know, like this desk right here, I don't have nothing for to like support my arms, so they're kind of dragging, but it kind of felt like I felt like I was walking around with my arms up like all day like this, like I was Frankenstein or something or a monster. And as a result, today it just was like, oh my god, I'm so much pain, I'm sore. It was killing me, and I wasn't feeling too good either. So it was just a really rough night yesterday, trying to, I don't know, be up with my dad and tend to his knees and stuff. But anyway, enough about my problems. Everybody's got problems, right? Nobody wants to hear that. All right. So what caused the spike? We'll get into a little bit of that, but I don't think it's enough to thread the needle. I just think it's basically, looking at the overall crypto market. Um, you see a slight increase. Of course, there's also talks about, for instance, what you see in the thumbnail, the institutional money. So, before we get into this outline, because we're already about 16 minutes into the show, we're going to give you guys the main theme or topic of today's show. Today's show's main topic is institutional money and what it means for crypto. So even if you're not invested into all this stuff, that is the main theme and why it should matter to you. Of course, we know on the surface what is, why it's so important. Institutional money brings in a lot of market cap. What ones are they invested into? What are some of the things they're talking about? So we'll get into all that in just a bit. Brian Dowie says Blackwood. It doesn't say elbow. That's just what I call it. Welcome, Brian Riley, a new watcher, viewer, hopefully regular. Thank you so much for your support on crypto Twitter. Don't think I dismiss it. I don't. But let's welcome another Brian. So maybe you and Brian Dowie become internet broskies. So Brian Dowie, Brian Riley. Yes. Anyway, glad to have you here, Brian Riley. Let's welcome Brian Riley, everyone, not just Brian Dowie. Okay. Jerry Perwall from Vancouver, British Columbia. My cousin lives there. Thank you for being here. I haven't been to British Columbia since the 1990s. It's been a very, very long time. One of these days, though. Anyway, glad to have you here. Welcome. Let's give him a welcome as well. And Ahmed is in the house. Welcome to Ahmed. It's going to welcome just a couple more of you guys. If she was at the door, I don't think I would have came back to the show. I'm just being honest. That'll be the one time I might be rude to you guys intentionally, and I'm sure you guys would totally understand. But we want Eva. Yeah, everybody wants Eva, right? Anyway, everybody wants the lovely Eva Savajou. Okay. Summer Fuzz in the house. Glad to have you here. And I think that might be it. Oh, Magic Power is also in the house. Hello, guten Tag, Liechtenstein Exchange. Just me in the house. Welcome, welcome. Fluffy Fluff is back, aka Darren Crubblesome. Happy Friday, gangsters. Oh, it ain't that show, man. It ain't, it's not the hey, welcome to Crypto Talk Now. You see Mr. Selmo Fudd right here. He tell you go back to Jersey, you freaking bum. Anyway, no, it's not like that. All right, he's been working 7 days to get his Jasmine Nectar. Oh, to do your DCA? I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying with that, man. Yeah, for me, it's, probably 2 more big bags of Jasmine, hit my goals. I have new goals. And then after that, I think it's just, I don't know, man. I got enough with my XRP, but it's just more gravy. But for me, it's like XDC, definitely Quant. Definitely more XLM and more HBAR, and I think that's going to kind of round it off for me. And everything from there is just gravy. And if you guys are ready on your gravy train, then I salute you. All right, let's go. Damn, Pepe, you go up so good. All right, cool. All right, we're going to use this one right here as a bookmark. All right, welcome to the show. Congratulations on making it to your Friday. Sit back, unwind, chill, have a good time. If you want to listen to what I have to present to you, awesome. If you want to just chill and, send messages back to your internet friends from CTN, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But please, all I ask, we saw some super chats, which was really nice. I'm really thankful to you guys for that. What I wish we could have is more likes so we can get the show out to a broader base. There's other shows going on. So technically, you can say it is kind of like competition. They get more likes, they get their channel more recommended. If you enjoy CTN, the consistent daily content that we bring you guys, it's free. Smash the like. Thank you so much. Let's jump into this. All right. So we're going to start things off with, believe it or not, ESPN. Why would Max want to start with ESPN? I'll show you why. So they have a report, and shout out to Brian Dowie. I know he's a big fan of Tom Brady. He has a jersey, back when Brady played for the Patriots, right? A lot of you guys are fans. Some of you guys aren't. So it's more like there's no in between with Tom Brady. You either love him or hate him, right? Anyway, so here's a report, comes straight from ESPN, and this is going to start things off with our outline for today. This report says Tom Brady lost $30 million in collapse of crypto giant FTX. This was reported literally earlier today, straight from Reuters as its original source and reference. Tom Brady lost millions in the collapse. A lot of us are like, well, why shows Max? We know this. There's some details. There's an update. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So we know about how he served as an ambassador and all this stuff, right? But it says under an agreement, the retired NFL quarterback made with FTX in 2021, he received $30 million in now worthless stock for his work pitching the company in television ads and at its conference. Bottom line, it's kind of like this. If you ever heard that story of Charles Barkley and Nike, well, back when Barkley was still best friends with Michael Jordan, Jordan said to Charles Barkley, look, renegotiate your contract with Nike. Instead of taking all this money up front, okay, what you should do is just do a stock option. Of course, that paid off for Barkley. And of course, there's been interviews and so on that Brady felt as though that was the thing to do. That definitely wasn't the thing to do. This was the exception. If Brady would have took the money up front, he would have been more than good. Now, however, there's some legal ramifications in regards to that. So while it may seem though it would have been better for him to take that money up front, in some ways, this might be saving him because that stock is now worthless. Now, hear me out on it. And it's good to basically report on some of this stuff. It says, his wife at the time, model Gisele Bundchen, Bunchen, where do you want to pronounce it? She also received $18 million in stock. That stock's now worthless. But anyway, here's the part that we want to jump down to, okay? And basically, in regards to the legal side of things, this quote, it says, and again, this is, I guess you could say from the defense, none of these defendants performed any due diligence prior to marketing these FTX products to the public, according to the lawsuit obtained by the Times. It was filed by federal court in Florida. Well, here's the bottom line, right? We do the shows. The today's show is called, TGIF with Max, but in reality, still DYOR, right? Do your own research. They didn't do any of their own research. They didn't do any of their own due diligence. So I guess from a legal defense side of things, they're trying to point out, look, none of these guys did their own research, and none of these guys have anything that's really worth anything because they chose to take the stock options, and now that stock is worthless. But on the other side, of course, the bigger players don't want to go after some of these athletes and so on, or celebrities, if you will, is the whole concept of, well, look, they did shield us, and therefore they're responsible. My attitude is, no, they're not. They're just paid actors, and spokespeople, if you will. That doesn't mean necessarily that, in my opinion, that they should be responsible. Who should be responsible and have to suffer the fate should be who? Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison, some of the other bigger players, right? That's just the way I look at it. I mean, and I think that's how most people look at some of this. But in reality is, at the end of the day, mainstream media and people that don't know about crypto or blockchain use cases and so on, they just want somebody to point the finger at. Who's going to be the scapegoat? Or is it going to be more than one person who's going to be the scapegoat? That's the bottom line. So that's what's going on with this. It's worth paying attention, especially since Tom Brady, he's now 45 years old, was ranked number 50 in the Forbes 2023 list as the world's highest paid athletes with the earnings of, $45.2 million in football salaries and endorsements. One of many. Okay. And, this is not me, of course, hating on Tom Brady. I don't hate Tom Brady. I think I thought he was a great quarterback personally. whether people like him or not. You know, some of you guys in the comments are going to be like, screw Brady. Obviously, Brian Dowdy's going to be like, yeah, Brady. But anyway, that's what's going on with that. Now, let's jump into this next thing. And then after this, we'll get back into the comments. But we still have a little bit more of an outline. So as you guys saw in the thumbnail, in regards to Larry Fink, and, you know, let's face it, I mean, there's quite a bit. I mean, there's, God, I mean, you know, some of the other big players, right? So in that thumbnail, the reason why we show that is because we, at least I like to do this. I like to be on the topic of what the heck we're, you know, is in the thumbnail and stuff like that, right? So BlackRock CEOs turn about on BTC. All right, I'm gonna say BTC because let's face it, we do cover BSV, and you know, hey man, I'm on board, right, Mr. Triple C. You know, that's the real Bitcoin. All right, so people can agree to disagree. But yeah, turnabout on Bitcoin's elicits cheers, skepticism, you name it, right? All right. The other day when I was with you guys, obviously not yesterday, the day before, I gave you guys that, you know, Fox News thing that was part of the outline. We're talking about, you know, bull run thesis part 13. Let's get back to this topic of Larry Fink and some of his recent, you know, talks about how he feels, some of the language that he's using. But the main key thing is some of these quotes that he's recently had. We'll give you guys some of the CoinDesk takeaway. Nice thing is not super long. But yes, Larry Fink, CEO of the world's biggest asset manager, even though publicly he says that's not true. Again, keep in mind, for tax reasons, of course he's going to say it's not true. Says crypto could, quote, revolutionize finance. Think about that for a second, you know? Like I even majored in, you know, finance, I believe, for my bachelor's. My MBA had more of the entrepreneurship emphasis, but still I majored in finance, endorsing an industry he once viewed with skepticism. But the very nature of an ETF is at odds with the original ideals, right, of Bitcoin, you know, BTC. So what is this all about? Why should we pay attention to it? Are we even paying attention to it? Some of you guys maybe get bored about some of this stuff. You just want to focus on a certain token sale, and that's all you care about. My thing is this: I want to always know what some of these bigger institutional players are doing and so on. It gives me a broader sense of how soon the big money's coming to crypto. Because even if you're not invested in specific tokens, you know, like or coins, let's say you're not even buying them like a half of Bitcoin or half of Ethereum and so on. We do recognize that still that represents 81% of the overall crypto market. But when we have this shift of the institutional players coming in, then it gives us an idea that instead of being so reliant on those main two to get the job going, now we're going to have some more of that bigger money coming in. And which ones are these guys going to go all in on? Is it just strictly BTC? Are they just adding more to that? Well, if anything, we're going to jump into this particular interview. This lady, we showcase a lot of her interviews and so on. But like it says, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says Bitcoin could revolutionize finance. We got more in regards to some of this outline, especially like what I retweeted recently in regards to Larry Fink and his statements about, you know, to democratize all this. Think about a company, right? You know where I'm going with this, that focuses on the democratization of data. Yeah, Jasmine. There's other players that play a big factor in regards to democratization. Smash that like. This one's about 7.5 minutes. After that, we'll get back in the comments. Appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully you guys are enjoying a nice snack or cooling out, whatever the case be. I can't thank you guys enough, and it means a lot to me that we have a great community here. Here we go.
BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says Bitcoin could, quote, revolutionize finance in an interview with Fox Business on Wednesday. Previously known as a skeptic, Fink's comments come after the iShares unit of BlackRock filed paperwork with the SEC for that spot Bitcoin ETF that we've been talking about. Feels like forever, but it's only been like a week and a half. Will, I'll toss it off to you. What do you make of Larry Fink's comments?
I kind of walked away with frustration on Twitter because basically this video was plastered everywhere. You couldn't scroll on the feed yesterday without seeing this video pop up. Now, to like the substance of it itself, really great stuff, and also really intriguing that the fact that he was saying this. Of course, like you said, Jen, this comes after the FTX or after the ETF news that they are pushing forward with it, with the surveillance agreement with Coinbase. They've refiled, and they're in the running with all these other ETFs who have filed over the years. Now, his comments in the video were two parts, right? one part about crypto being an asset class, and the second about Bitcoin specifically being digital gold. Now, not to read into it too much, because a lot of times people in these positions who sort of have like a wider understanding of the financial space, but not necessarily crypto or Bitcoin in general, they kind of use the terms interchangeably. So it's hard to know really what he was saying there. Is he a Bitcoin bull and thinks of Bitcoin as gold? Or does he think of all crypto sort of having gold-like quantities about it? It's hard to know. I would assume it's probably the former. They think like Bitcoin has some gold-like tendencies, and all these other digital assets could have properties that are emergent and useful over time. And that leads me to my second thought, maybe conclusion from this is maybe this is not the only ETF they're going to put forward, right? Like it's not only going to be a Bitcoin ETF. Maybe there's an Ethereum ETF in the future. Maybe there's another token as well. Maybe there's a basket of tokens that incorporates things like a Coinbase or a Bitcoin miner and Bitcoin or Ethereum, stuff like that. So I think there's more on the horizon if you're seeing the head of this huge company going forward and promoting something like that. Wendy?
Do you really want my take? I feel like it's a little bit too early for my take, guys.
Okay, we'll get to Sam and then you.
All right, you know what? Okay, give it to Sam, and then trying to catch my breath here. Okay, give it to Sam.
I mean, I'll make a quick take. I wrote down like one of the quotes here about how he was talking about, when he was praising the virtues of blockchain technology. He talks about when you have a quote unquote pure blockchain, and then he's like, if you know who the buyers and sellers are, then it's a positive thing for the financial ecosystem. So first off, I have no idea what a quote unquote pure blockchain is. I guess Bitcoin would be in some senses. I don't know if he knows what whatever. I don't know if he knows what he's talking about when it comes to any of that. So I do take some of it with a grain of salt. And he talks about if you know who the buyers and sellers are, that's kind of antithetical to the Bitcoin maxis, I would assume, when it comes to the privacy of this technology. We still don't know who Satoshi is, and I think that still is a core principle. So anyway, one thing that this reminded me of, without actually putting any opinion on it myself, is just the fact that I do think that there is, again, going back to ironies, this weird thing that we find in these bear markets where the same folks who are espousing the benefits of blockchain technology when it comes to getting rid of intermediaries, adding transparency, but also increasing privacy. Those folks are all very excited when institutions come in and kind of in this ham-fisted way talk about the technology and bringing it to more people. How does this actually democratize Bitcoin? I don't know, for it to be an ETF when you could easily just go on Coinbase and buy Bitcoin right now. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have full opinions. I just think it's kind of funny to see people excited about this thing that
when it's going to explode.
I'm so triggered right now. Oh, sorry. All right, let me just read the tweet that I put out, because I'm so triggered.
That's what she wanted the time for.
I said, BlackRock is about to be accepted by the Bitcoin maxis. I thought the point was removing third-party predators and being your own bank. Self-custody will die. More importantly, I'm excited to get rich and ride the grift wave. I own Bitcoin. I've invested in Bitcoin. I'm excited because I'm going to make a lot of money. My whole thing is yes, Bitcoin is open source. It is for everybody. That's great, fantastic, fine. But the goal is to remove the banks, to remove traditional finance, to remove these entities that create gaps between the rich and the poor. Bitcoin allows for anybody to participate, and that's what we're seeing now. And I personally believe with this BlackRock ETF or all the other ETFs that are getting integrated, that will probably get integrated, it's going to continue to make people lazy in the United States and not want to actually self-custody their Bitcoin. You're giving your Bitcoin to like a fourth party to hold for you. Yes, that's okay for retirement. I get it. But at the same time, isn't this supposed to be digital gold? Isn't this supposed to be a hedge against the collapsing banking system and all of these other third-party predators? Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. But again, I'm more than happy to profit off of it and make a lot of money as more capital gets injected by the big boys. So that's my take on it.
I think this is a win for the space, honestly, Wendy. I agree with you. I think that's the goal, but it's not going to happen tomorrow, right? And if we juxtapose this story against that FTX story we just spoke about, here we have this huge traditional finance figurehead that's coming out and saying, actually, I changed my tune. Like before, I was a skeptic on this thing. Now I kind of believe in it for all of these reasons. And there's this ETF, which just gives another option to people. People can still hold their Bitcoin. They can still self-custody. Yes, maybe they're lazy and they're going to opt for something else, but maybe they'll get there eventually. I don't think this is going to change overnight. And I think when we talk about mainstream adoption, having someone who's been out in the public so adamantly against the space change their mind, especially when stories like that New York Times piece are coming out, I think it's a win. Will?
Yeah, we only got a few seconds here. So I will disagree with Wendy. I think that decentralization is a spectrum and that some people will be able to self-custody, which is the best option. Some people won't want to do that and they're going to need an ETF product with their broker. And it's okay because everyone will have Bitcoin where they need it. And hopefully more people self-custody over time. But that option is there for the first time in human history, right? A lot of times we didn't have the ability to do that. So the fact that Bitcoin presents that option is
Sam,
good.
are you with Wendy?
Hold up, guys. We do actually have traditional finance folks that create custom SEPs, 401ks, IRAs with Bitcoin. I actually participate in one to help offset taxes, and that's the only reason why, so I pay less. But we already have those products available. So that's all I'm saying. Sam, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't going to say anything. Did somebody ask me something?
Yeah, I said, are you with Wendy? Because Will and I are respectfully on the other side of this argument.
Not
I
respectfully.
honestly don't really have a side on the argument. I feel like it's, look,
Mushy
the
middle,
way I
no
view
fun.
it is it's always just funny to see us in these bear markets getting excited when the traditional people come in and then spurning them at the top and then, welcoming them back at the bottom. It's just this cycle that we see. I sound very cynical.
BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says Bitcoin could, quote, revolutionize finance in an interview with Fox Business on Wednesday. Previously known as a skeptic, Fink's comments come after the iShares unit of BlackRock filed paperwork with the SEC for that spot Bitcoin ETF that we've been talking about. Feels like forever.
Sorry about that. Went a little bit over. I was here. I was just kind of going through some things. So we will pause this part of this outline. We'll get back into the comments. And in the process of doing so, let's get into the next one. Let's see who has anything specifically, question or comment or anything like that. All right. Let me turn on a few more things. I didn't even know I had that one off, this one. All right. Please smash that like. I think we're doing okay with the likes, but nonetheless, I keep reminding people to do it because it definitely helps. All right. Let me see where we're at with the last bookmarks. All right. Fluffy Fluff, aka Darren Carlson, says he hit the top 400 worldwide, so it's looking well packed. Okay. Jay Cryptic, welcome back. He says, hello all. Glad to have you back. Anyway. Ahmed says, Friday means nothing to me. He works 7 days. Well, it's got to mean something in somebody's book. I used to work 7 days too, man. I mean, I worked at the post office years ago. It was literally 29 days straight, 1 day off, 29 days straight, no, 1 day off, 12 to 14 hour shifts. And it was psycho. Okay. It was just absolutely crazy. I don't recommend it for anybody. And hence why I don't work there anymore, because that was many years ago. That was like 20 years ago. And it's just an insane job. It was with the Priority Mail headquarters of the Southwest region. And you just literally have dreams that you're at work when you're at home trying to sleep. It's like mentally draining, physically draining, but more mentally draining. But I hear you though, Bachman, and sorry you work 7 days a week, man, but at least you're, hopefully you got something to say for some of this life-changing one in the future. That's all I got to say. I do appreciate you being here, Ahmed. All right, so let's see here. Brady got rugged for a cool 30 million. Basically, in a way, he kind of rugged himself. Yeah. So people feel as though, well, he could still got off. He should have went with the stock shares, right? The stock option and so on. Should have gone, the Barkley route or the Michael Jordan Barkley route. Typically speaking, that would have worked. But anyway, The sound of nails on chalkboard doesn't bother me. It bothers me, and I'm a school teacher. I have always hated that sound. My version of that is hearing Charles Barkley. You're not a fan of Barkley? I'm a fan of Barkley, but it's okay. I get it. He's not for everybody. Evening Max, evening peeps. Glad to have GT back in the house. When Moon, probably what? What do you guys think? I'm leaning towards like, the height of the bull market. When is that going to be? Towards the end of 2025? I don't know. Not a fortune teller, but obviously within the next 2-3 years, it's going to be pretty darn insane. I mean, that is so much more not only inspiring, but like better news than, all right, I mean, some of you guys are a lot younger, right? I mean, let's just be real. There might be a few people watching us that are in their early 20s. You believed in the whole concept of a 401k. You believed in, I don't know, what other options your company, if you're working for a company, gave you. Work all the way there to age 65. Or maybe they convinced you, well, work to 70. All right. So if you're willing to wait all that time, none of us are willing to wait just a few more years. How about this? Could we safely say probably less than 5 years before that generational wealth? To me, that's not that big of a deal. But for people that are new to crypto, or the ones that, again, a couple years ago did really well in 2021, and they're just like, that's what I was used to, and I want that back. I get where you're coming from, but yeah, that's not that much time to wait, and it'll fly by quicker than you think. All right, Caroline is innocent. And you would know that firsthand, apparently, with all the times you guys are quoted Caroline. I gotta stop that. All right, let's go further down. All right, definitely agree, Brian. She was. Oh, see, there you go. All right. The Kardashians are a curse. Seems like it. Por favor, hit that like button. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. De nada. All right. Cool Cat Critter says, look at what the Kardashians did to poor Bruce Jenner. He's a chick now. I was more than likely say that was on his own doing, but yeah, they probably get part of that blame. All right, let's go further down. Glad to see you got some goals, Mr. Michael Montclair. Let's go further down. Rest assured, Larry Fink knows all about BSV and his capabilities, says Cool Cat Crypto, and you could take that to the bank. All right, thanks for that, Mr. Triple C. April Cornwell says, hey, beautiful people. Thank you for being here, April. Hopefully you're having a great day, start of a great weekend. The Ghost is in the house. Welcome back. Have no fear, the Crypto Ghost is here. What up, geeks? What up, Maxaroni? Maxaroni. Never been called Maxaroni, huh? Stuck it in his hat and called it Maxaroni. Maybe it's because you're still thinking of 4th of July, Independence Day. I don't know. But glad to have you here, Mr. Ghost. Let's see if any of you guys got anything else specific. Mike Cornwell's in the no. What the heck? He needed a. All right. All right, you guys got some interesting comments. All right, here's one. Back to crypto, right? Please smash the like. We're just reading a few more comments and we'll kick it back in the outline. Yeah, but these investment firms lease their BTC and they can over leverage like they do with gold and silver and other commodities. Read the fine print. It's the biggest rug pull for legal elites. Yikes. Yeah, the same leftovers. Well, it must be good. It must have been like, well, you got ribs, stuff like that. I have some ribs, but I haven't cooked them yet. I end up cooking like steak and stuff instead. So I still have all those sales. Got some baby back ribs, got some just regular, pork ribs. Some people don't like pork ribs, only like baby back. I like all that stuff. All right, you had Mexican. Oh, that sucks that you didn't have good Mexican. I mean, there's some places here that are pretty good, but even though I live in the Southwest, you think like the best Mexican food is here. Believe it or not, I'll still say the best Mexican food I have ever had is not here. The best Mexican food I've ever had is at a place, and they went out of business because of COVID, unfortunately. It was called the Original Taco House. By far the best. brisket, sausage, taters. All that sounds good, man. You were a BTC maxi at one point until your intro. All right. So are you just into those two things, BTC and XLM, or are you also into other ones, Ghost? All right. April Coral says she had Mexican food place in Norman, Oklahoma, called Volcanoes. So pretty good stuff. All right. All right, let me go further down. Yeah, this Jerry guy looked at Jasmine site, said there are other products. Totally clue. I know what you're talking about. All right, so that guy, nothing against him. Okay. At first, some of you guys were like, "Well, Jerry said this." Jerry, I'm like, "Who the heck is this Jerry guy?" Then I found out who you're talking about. It's the same guy who also basically said that like QNT is garbage and so on. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of you guys that feel that way because it's ERC20 token. Like I said, QNT is a heck of a lot more than just the ERC20 token. I know there's a couple people, we'll mention their names, out of respect, who probably feel that way, but to each his own. All right. So I'm going to check on the other screen, see how we're doing. We're good. Let's jump back to the outline because we need to get into it. Because for me, I have got to get my dad's meds before the pharmacy closes. So we still have plenty of time. I'm just saying, like, it ain't going to be no WrestleMania or anything like that if that's what you're hoping. Some people don't hope for that, and that's good too. All right. I just need to make a bookmark. Make sure I don't lose where I'm at. Where was that? All right. Actually, I guess I'll read this too. You just realized 625,000 Jasmine will try to forget for a while. Okay. All right, now we're going to jump back into what we have for the outline, okay? So glad to show you guys what we had. Let me jump back into it. So I have to refresh this, unfortunately. All right. So we shared the video. Let's talk a little bit more in regards to this. So, you start seeing this narrative about like the quote unquote change of heart. And I'll come back on the screen. So, like, even like some of the tweets by Jerome Powell, it seems like, as the saying goes, you can't beat them, join them. Is it really change of heart, or is just, they don't even care about some of the use case? They just understand the supply and demand of things. Look at this. BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink's change of heart on BTC could make it easier for fellow Wall Street executives to embrace cryptocurrencies or embrace something other than Ethereum, right? Because we know how that all worked out. But some experts warn that his favored financial instrument, the Exchange Traded Fund, or ETF, is an investment vehicle that's categorically different from the original ideals of digital assets. Yes, and could push the industry in the wrong direction. Do you guys feel that way? You can type in the comments how you feel. How about this? The key distinction is that an ETF is simply a traditional investment vehicle. Hear us out on this for a second, and we'll jump into something else. With Bitcoin as the asset, but traded on a regulated stock exchange. I mean, it kind of sounds like they're satisfying the, what's on the surface of why the SEC exists and so on, right? But as we know, just because you try to appease the SEC doesn't necessarily, guarantee that you are, and I hate to use this term, but in a safe space, okay? So how do we know that? Well, basically speaking, look what happened with Ripple. They literally kind of went out of their way, did they not, back a few years ago to appease the SEC, literally met with them in person, and still everything backfired on them. So there's nothing guaranteed when it comes to this. Crypto politics, blockchain politics. I don't even call it blockchain politics, but yeah, politics with the SEC. Nothing is ever guaranteed, especially when it comes to that. So such structures might be in, I can't even pronounce that right now, to Bitcoin, designed and then launched in 2009 by a synonymous creator, partly as a backlash against the Wall Street excesses that fueled the global financial crisis a year earlier. As an internet-based peer-to-peer payments network that would be free from government control. Now, we understand, why use dinosaur technology you did for the payment rails. I'm not going to tell you guys on that. But this right here shows that the reception from the crypto faithful might be mixed, even if Fink's newfound fondness may have helped to support the recent rally in Bitcoin's price, now up 82% year to date. I mean, is that more than a coincidence? I mean, did that, like, for instance, we talk about some of these, like they're going into the fourth boom cycle. I feel as though that we're already going into the boom cycle. If anything, the institutional money help, increase some of these percentages up higher than, it normally would be. There's still people still saying, this is a real true bear market. I don't know. The numbers show differently. And also, since we're on the topic of Larry Fink, guess what he's also recently said? He's also recently said that we are in a bull market. He feels as though that's the case. Now, on the surface, just because everything's not going parabolic to all-time highs, for a lot of people, they're not on board with that. But for me personally, with the combination of the countless times we brought you guys some of the evidence to support that thesis, if you will, does definitely seem to be the case. I base it on data, numbers, and so on. Some people just base it off of opinions of others. Teach his own. This statement is good. Then we'll jump into a little bit more what we have. Quote, crypto is losing the plot, said Jim Bianco, president of Bianco Research. It is supposed to be about decentralization, supposedly, permissionless, and self-sovereignty. Getting excited that it is going to become a more accessible poker chip is nice, I should say, and will help degens, right? A lot of the degens, you guys too, in the short term, but it will not help to fulfill the real promise of crypto. Well, for me, all the concepts on paper sound great, but at the end of the day, it's all about, like, where's the real supply? Where's the real demand? Larry Fink, who until this week was known to be a skeptic of crypto and at once even called, Bitcoin, and they're reminding everybody, the public, you and us, you, me, and everybody else, he called BTC, quote, at one point, an index of money laundering, who was another one that basically said that it's all a sham, right? Who over at JP Morgan, okay? And as we know, it's like, we got, again, hello, did your assistant not give you the memo that you guys are heavily invested into what? Quorum. Said on Wednesday that it could, quote, revolutionize finance. So again, this is a perfect case. If you can't beat them, join them, because at the end of the day, institutional money, yes, they've said bad things in the past, but they will jump ship to where the opportunity really truly is. All right, so jumping back into a little bit more of this outline, I want to show you guys this from Blockworks. And then, of course, after that, we'll kick it definitely into, like, some QNT, especially XRP. We got some big stuff for XLM that you really need to pay attention to. And I'll give you guys a reminder. You want to see today's video about Axios. Yes, it was shared and chopped up from the live. But if you weren't part of that live for the day, go to the recorded video section. Check that out. Why do you want to do that? I'll tell you why you want to do that. Basically speaking, it's because if you have properly researched Ripple's XRP, or understand, for instance, Ripple's ODL, on-demand liquidity, this with Axios is the stellar answer when it comes to specifically, like, that institutional money, if you will. All right. And what I'm talking about that is when we talk about Ripple taking on that debt, whether it's our debt of the United States, which is, by the way, up to 32 trillion now, or the debt of other nations and so on in the form of on-demand liquidity. This is literally Stellar's answer through this new project being built on Stellar in the form of what's called Axios. So if you care about, I don't know, any of that, or you've, like, been the type of guy that you tagged me numerous times, you're like, hey, Max, look at this. This should be shared on the show. Hey, Max, look at ISO 222. All the research we've done, right? Telling you flat out, that's probably one that deserves your attention. So check it out. If you're ready here for some of the intro of what we have for that, great. I will do a follow-up in the future, an actual proper deep dive about Axios, but that's really, really big. Because, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily it's competition, but some ways it definitely feels like it is. All right. So with that said, that's why another reason why I'm in both. All right, let's get into this thing about Blockworks. And please smash that like. Let's see how we're doing on the likes. We're at 26 likes, I believe. I'm going to refresh it one more time. 26 likes. We have close to 40. So we could definitely have a few more likes. Again, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Unless you absolutely hate this guy that's on camera. And you're like, I just watch him because, I don't know, it's something to do. Teach his own. Smash the like for we can tick up in the 40s. Let's get this out to a broader base. But here it is from Blockworks. Institutions are turning pro-crypto because of demand, not because they believe in it. Now, some of you guys are going to feel like this article is full of crap, like it's a bunch of malarkey. Hear me out on this, right? You can kind of say, yes, that's the case. Look at, again, that quote from Larry Fink from a while back, a few years ago. Different stance of where we're at now, right? He's completely shifted his stance. So look, another quote, and there's Larry Fink again. And it says, when BlackRock sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Why is that? Again, because of the world's largest asset custodian. This guy, Larry Fink, will never admit to that. Again, for tax purposes, it simply makes sense. Now, when you go further down to this, it says, when the average crypto skeptic changes their mind and dives down the rabbit hole, it's hardly a newsworthy event. But it's a different story when the CEO of the largest asset management company in the world performs, or talks more about it, face to face. All right. Years ago, Larry Fink, the head honcho, as we know, over at BlackRock, panned BTC as a, quote, index of money laundering, like what I mentioned before. Now he touts it as digital gold, crypto as an international asset, says it's going to be revolutionary. Okay. So look at this. Did Larry Fink basically wake up one day and come to this epiphany, says Santiago Santos? No, I think there's a lot of institutional demand. So at the end of the day, we can talk about, the use cases of, blockchain and the want and need for it and so on, distributed ledger technologies, and how much this particular payment rail is so much more significant compared to, the old system, right? But they follow the money at the end of the day, and that's basically where it's at. And I think you're really starting to see the shift of what's going on here. I like this quote too. I don't think Larry took it upon himself to read the white paper. I mean, that could be a case. I could where, Mr. Cool Cat Crypto's saying, he's fully aware of it. Right, fully aware of it. But, in reality, some of these guys just have maybe their top assistant or whoever that they hire. Right? Hey, I'll just pay this guy to understand the white paper and then give me the quick summary. I'm with you, Cool Cat. I'm sure he realizes what it is and is aware of it. But as far as reading the whole white paper, probably not, right? So it came to a massive realization and then started sending BTC to friends and said, wow, my God, this is phenomenal. They're constantly in touch with their largest clients and they see the window here, Santos says. And of course, this whole reference to, the sneezing, so on and so forth. But, here's another one. When the FDIC came to wind down, I should say, the portfolio is a signature in Silicon Valley Bank. Who did they have do that? And look what it says, BlackRock. And then he also goes on to mention that explains the influence that BlackRock basically exerts over the broader economy. When BlackRock sneezes, again, the rest of the world changes the cold. Now, I'm going to jump down to this part because it's good. And again, we got some real beautiful, solid outlines. Trust me, it's going to make a lot more sense here in a bit. But remember, I was talking about this whole narrative is changing. Well, here's proof, literally with quotes. BlackRock's validation of crypto as an asset class is, quote, probably the most important event in a couple of years. Or how about this? Might be the most important event in all of crypto history, because if we have been following this whole thing of this shift or the flip of the switch, you better believe institutional money is part of that switch being turned on. It is the necessary, quote, catalyst, he says, to change the narrative. If you have institutional money on board, man, we don't need necessarily focus on 4-year boom cycles and so on. It's called utility run. It's never happened before. Here's how it happens. All right, I'm going to jump into what we have. And this is from Tokenizer, and this is going to help round things out. This doesn't focus on any specific token or any of the use case or any of that, but it does make sense about what we were talking about here recently. Check this out, and by all means, give Tokenizer, the GOAT of research, a follow. He says, when it's all said and done, regulations in place, check. Shitcoin shutdown, check. DLT for industry utility, check. Digitally globalized, check. Tokenized economies, check. We talk about got to have that framework to get that clarity and so on. He says he hopes we can look back to these days of the novel blockchain space and remember the journey it took to basically get there. Yeah, we could look back on it, and I don't know about you, but I'm gonna look back on it and say, you know what? I didn't give in to all the darn fudders. I stuck with my gut, and I stuck with the research. And the research, like I mentioned, has trumped FUD 110%. It don't matter what project it is, if it's a solid project and worth getting into, the use cases of these projects will speak for themselves. And the ones that claim to have utility and don't, like some of these meme tokens, that speaks for itself as well. Now, there is still some opportunity with that. And don't get me wrong, you guys will kill it with that. But what Tokenizer said here definitely helps round things off with this outline. All right. Now, that concludes some of that institutional talk, but everything that we have highlighted here, QNT, XRP, Stellar, even Jasmy, everything outlined has a focus for the original start of what we're talking about on the outline, and that is institutional money. So we're going to pause it here for a brief moment, kick it back in the comments. The next segment will be QNT. Let's go ahead and have you guys smash that like if you haven't done so already. Let's go further down. April Corn, you miss video stores just for the nostalgia. I hear you, but you know what? There's a few things I don't miss. I don't miss getting hit with the stupid late fees, right? I don't miss getting hit with, oh, you forgot to rewind the VHS tape. Let's charge you $1. I don't miss the expensive amounts of money they charge for like the candy and all that stuff. Just like it was, almost as bad, not quite as bad, but like going to an actual movie theater. I don't miss any of that stuff, but I get where you're coming from. All right. I'm always afraid of poverty. Yeah, I've definitely lived through it most of my life, unfortunately. And I don't know, when I eventually start my own family, I don't want them to have to go through that. Especially when you see other families that you're like, you go to school with people and like hear the stories of like, oh man, we got to go to Disneyland and got to go here and got to go there and it was amazing. We went to Hawaii and it's like, yeah, I never really got to experience that, but I didn't really like feel sorry for myself. That was just the reality of it. I mean, and that's the reality for a lot of people growing up. Just depends on how you grew up. Blockbuster and the other small ones. All right. Yeah, Hollywood Video and so on. We'll try. Oh, place local. Okay. All right, let me go further down. Magic Powers of Jasmine is still hidden, and the masses still don't have him on their screens. Well, it is what it is. So, all right, Ahmed. By the time we get to 65, the cost of living will triple. Right. And it's just like, if a person's going to be dependent on just the concept of like Social Security, in reality, like I even did the math on it, like technically speaking, with all the debt we're in and we're supposed to run out of that, I'm 42. So I looked more into it and I saw that I think it's pretty much 2 or 3 years before I could even, because it's supposed to be 62 is the earliest that you can apply for it. So I think it's like either 59 or 60 or something like that, technically speaking. Based off this, the figures of now, that would just run out or wouldn't be around. So, I'm not going to really count on the thing being around. I have to have other plans. I'm sure a lot of you guys have other plans too. Otherwise, why are you bothering getting invested in all this stuff, Anyway. All right, let's go further down. Cool Cat Crypto says, me, Tierra is San Antonio is the best Mexican food in the world. I believe you. There's a lot of good places. I'm just saying, for the best I ever had in my life was, the original taco house. Really nice restaurant, just great food, everything. Really authentic. All right, let's welcome Red Monster. Welcome. Glad to have you here. And it's going to be a great weekend. That's good stuff. All right, let's just read one more. Comes from April Cornwell. I meant to read this earlier, but we're doing the outline. $2 super chat. She says, excuse me, casino, aka the no-no. The no-no. Huh. Interesting. What's my thought on VeChain? Well, first of all, hold on. April, thank you so much for that $2 super chat. I always got to thank people for super chats. Thank you. In regards to my thoughts on VeChain, I mentioned before that, I think it's a good project. I'm not personally invested into it. There's a lot of good projects I'm not personally invested in. It's just put more focus on some of the ones I feel as though like I have to have some of these. But I think maybe next time around for VeChain, things could be big. But one of the consistent complaints has been last bull market, towards the end of 2021, when things started to go the other, taper down, that you didn't see significant price action. And my answer is, so everybody, yeah, right. There's a reason why projects build and expand in a bear market, right? And there's also reasons why projects don't necessarily want to build during the height of a bull. If you don't have your utility, your main layer of utility built already, I mean, if we understand, blockchain, distributed ledger technologies, and so on, the whole concept of being gung ho about any particular project is that if they actually have the utility built. And my answer basically is, and this is not FUD, it's just being real about it. VeChain didn't have all its utility built. Some people will argue that, but honestly, everybody I ever met in VeChain, even when I researched it, was, hey, this is a really cool project. Once they get their utility completely done, it's going to solve a lot of things for our supply chain and logistics and so on. Like, and everybody does the same thing. You've seen many other shows or other people talk about and so on. Once VeChain gets this mechanism to be able to like scan a barcode off of like a Louis Vuitton purse or, Air Jordans or Rolex, or I don't even know if that's possible with Rolex, but you get the point, like verifying what's real and what's not, because it disrupts, I believe, what is it, a $400 billion industry, the black market industry between China and the United States. That could be huge, right? Absolutely huge. But until that utility, that main utility layer is there, you have underlying utility layers that are not as significant. That's not FUD. That's not fear of certain that. That's just being objectionable about anything, And I just honestly think that if they solve or get that main utility layer done, you hold it at these price levels, right? Because let's face it, it's not a penny and a half, but it's been fluctuating between a penny and a half, 2 cents, and so on. You already have your bags packed on that. You get to, for instance, the next, fourth boom cycle, or how about this, a real true utility run, and that utility's already been built out and it's done, and you already got everything going on. You'll be more than glad that you were patient and held that and so on. So that's how I feel about it. Obviously, if you're asking about it, it seems like you're either thinking about getting into it or you already have it. We're glad to have you here nonetheless. And there's quite a few other people here who watch our show who are into VeChain. So guys, let's give Red Monster a warm welcome. And that's a pretty cool looking what is that, a French bulldog? French bulldogs remind me of pugs, but with their ears up. And I do have a pug. His name is Meatball. He's my little meatball. All right. We are at Thunderbird. All right. Let's go further down. Let's see about welcome some people. Let's also welcome the one, the only, Patrick Collier. Glad to have you here, Patrick. Boom. What up, Big Max? What up, Patrick Collier? Appreciate you. XRP does rule. Same goes from Crypto's Galaxy channel. That's a good question, right? Maybe he'll verify that in the comments here in a bit. All right. Michael, if that happens, I will sponsor Max's barbecue. Man, I could use all the barbecue I can get. All right. In fact, I'm going to not necessarily make a barbecue sandwich, but I'm going to cook up a steak sandwich later tonight because I need to, I don't want the meat to go bad. All right. Patrick, eat up, bro. Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk says, glad to see Max and the wealth of knowledge he provides daily. Well, thanks, man. And I appreciate you being here daily. I'm pretty sure you're almost here daily. Appreciate you guys. All right. Going to kick it back to the outline here in just a bit. Double checking the other screen, making sure I didn't forget anything. Let's get back into what we have on this outline. All right. So we talked about some of the things that you guys saw and so on. Again, the key thing of this outline is institutional money. Please take that away as the main focus. All right. For me personally, I could talk all day long about, audio, the graph, some of these other things I think are great utility cryptos. But at the end of the day, the main reason why I talk about any of these things is because I recognize that, I want to be invested into solid projects with real utility, but especially if institutional money comes in, because if I believe that, Bitcoin and Ethereum still represent 81% of the overall crypto market, you better believe that when it comes to the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, and so on, they bring a tremendous amount of that institutional money in. Okay, like the other day that we reported, BlackRock and Fidelity alone, that doesn't even include all the other institutional, big money, represents even what was it, 10% of their assets is basically what, guys? Right? That's a little over one, was it 1 trillion they could bring into the overall crypto market. And right now as we speak, we're at 1.18 trillion. So them two alone could double the current market. Now forget what the current market is, it's not that big of a deal, but still that's nothing to dismiss, and at the height of these bull markets, oh man, can you imagine when we get, like, instead of just them two, bring on another 10, bring on another 20. Now you know where things could go. This is where the debate of 5 trillion market cap, 10 trillion market cap for overall crypto market cap, 20, and so on. They can't be volatile. All right, let's jump back into this, and here we go. And on this is QNT. Now you may be wondering why put some focus on it. Well, why not? We cover QNT quite a bit, but this was reported yesterday, July 6th, straight from the Quant Network. It says in today's FT Financial Times, okay, they're obviously a publication. Bob Wigley, who is chairman of several companies, and it says for instance, UKF Tweets, which is UK Finance, he wrote an op-ed, excuse me, I pronounced it wrong, about the UK and how they should take the lead in securities. Now, we, of course, reported last week and so on about some of the big things about the Bank of International Settlements, some of the in Bank of England, some of the big things that happened for the Quant Network going public, especially when it came for their operating system, right, for the over ledger. So it says worth reading in its entirety, but here's some highlights. We don't want to get into reading the whole thing. But yeah, we're going to get into the actual thread. Before we get into it, though, Gilbert Verdian responded to this. And he says the crypto market by the end of 2022 was less than 0.5% of financial markets. In 2022, the total regulated capital markets of debt and equity was 233 trillion total. Out of that 233 trillion, currently speaking now, even if we didn't increase it, and of course that is increased by now, we understand that 32 trillion belongs to the United States alone, which is just absolutely insane. Yes, we lead the world in GDP still, thank God, but it's worth noting. Look at this. Crypto was only 798 billion, right? So not as much. What ones take on some of the debt? Again, check out the intro, if you will, in regards to Axios that's built on Stellar. In my opinion, that is Stellar's answer to Ripple's ODL by taking on that debt that we've always talked about. The tokenization of regulated markets is 24 trillion by 2027, according to HSBC. We talk about tokenized regulated markets quite a bit. What's a perfect example of a tokenized regulated market? It's definitely the Liechtenstein exchange. That's why a lot of you guys feel very bullish on LCX, because you understand that they, for instance, is the tokenization of digital and even physical assets represented on blockchain. For instance, Timons is a great example. And by the way, another video that was released earlier today, the gang token. No, has nothing to do with Bloods and Crips or anything like that, but in regards to GOS, What is that? What does that consist of? Again, another key token, but again, on the Liechtenstein exchange. Now, we're talking about QNT here, and we're going to jump back into this. So with that said, I'm going to take you to this. And it's got a full report, but it's not like it's boring or anything like that. But the key thing is, it's definitely, as the saying goes, like it's worth a read. So I'm going to take you to there. And in the process of doing so, it's going to come up with a few key things from the Financial Times. Share this and blow it up a little bit more. All right. Here we go. So this is a report on July 5th, just a couple days ago. And basically speaking, talks about this whole disruptive innovations that they have and so on. Over the past year, there's been, of course, an upsurge in financial services. And listen to this, guys, because again, we're talking about the institutional players. Institutional interest in this area, particularly as central banks move from an analog towards digital, says without continued bold action, however, the UK risks falling behind compared to other jurisdictions. When we talk about the U.S. falling behind, the UK definitely doesn't want to fall behind, and they have taken action to make sure or ensure that they don't fall behind. Well, how so? Well, like it says, tokenization is not about crypto. What we're talking about is creating digital representations of real financial assets with ownership tracked on distributed ledgers or blockchains. Hence why I did give a shout out for LCX. LCX is literally the definition of, representations of real financial assets with ownership tracked on distributed ledgers or blockchains. This is for everything from equities to bonds to illiquid assets like real estate and private equity. We can even throw we could throw Zenfin's XDC into the mix. We understand with your 7 tokenized bonds. Remember that project as well? Hopefully you do. In a new report jointly prepared by UK Finance and Oliver Wyman, we worked with dozens of the largest banks, financial markets, participants, regulators, ministers, and other bodies to outline the benefits of securities tokenization, and understand the bottlenecks that the UK needs to address. Well, let's jump into this for a moment. So the UK's standing as an equity listing venue gains press coverage, but fixed income and post-trade infrastructure are just as important to London's position as a global financial center. The reason why I want to show this to you guys is, again, the whole concept of them leading the charge as far as being a global financial center, or the hub of all hubs, if you will. You've already seen this with, for instance, the digital pound getting things going. Gilbert Verdian, recently resigned from that and so on. But if you look at his track record, it was nothing negative. He joins projects. He does this time that he feels as though needs to have emphasis on. And then when he feels as though he accomplishes his goals, he moves on. And what's the proof in the pudding in regards to that? Look at his resume. He doesn't really stay with like one set company for like 20 plus years. He goes, he does his thing, then he moves on. And if anything, he leaves on a good rapport, and then he comes back, helps the project again, with whether it's updates or talking about what's going on with where they're going to lead the charge as far as being a partner, you name it. The pain points around the cost and complexity of current capital markets infrastructure are real and significant. Now, I'm not going to get into all this, but I'm going to show you some key things, or key findings here. The good news, because we do need some good news for the UK, is that tokenization globally is in its infancy. So again, when you keep hearing the overexpressed analogy that we're so early, well, in reality, we are. They are too, as in the institutional money. Even digital bond issuance. Again, like I was talking about earlier with XDC, your 7 tokenized bonds, the most common usage for tokenization in mainstream financial assets is still tiny, totaling only about 1.5 billion in the year to February, according to the S&P Global. But the reality is the UK is at risk of falling behind other financial centers, as digital bond issuance to date has been in other places such as Singapore or Switzerland. Hence why, and I'll show you this right now, and if you haven't done it, it's okay, but I give people reminders of stuff. This is not exactly homework, but if you give a crap, about certain things, you'll definitely pay attention. And that is this right here. You want to watch today's video about electronics trade documents bill update. It's a 24 minute deep dive, but it's going to give you an idea of why, again, you'll be glad that you held some XDC, not financial advice, but that's why I'm glad I'm holding it so on. But we all need to be updated about this bill. Again, let's jump back because this is a reference right here to why we pay attention to these things. Because, like it says, here it is. Digital bond issuance to date has been in other places such as Singapore. In the deep dive, it references just that. Despite its reputation for red tape and bureaucracy, the EU, as a European Union, has moved ahead in terms of experimentation. Their progress is similar to the US, which could quickly leap ahead given its huge financial resources, deep capital markets, and technology know-how. What is some of that technology know-how? Well, you have bigger players a part of the whole mix. You have, for instance, the Quant network. We've had confirmation with the Bank of England, Bank of International Settlements, and so on. So, yes, the UK is going to be that global hub. But like it also shows, there are these main benefits that tokenization could bring securities markets, for instance, lower costs and lower risk and wider access. And then before I kick it into the next part, like it says, let's start with the cost. There are efficiency gains reporting, trading, and banking infrastructure. A tokenized security could require fewer intermediaries and operational processes for taking on new customers, and anti-laundering measures could be streamlined. So all this stuff is going on, especially in the UK and so on. We talked about, for instance, what's going on with Japan, data free flow with trust, but it's a combination of what Japan is doing with leading the charge of data free flow with trust, and then also the European Union embracing DFFT and having it all applied to all these different sectors. This further fuels the debate of this is why the United States is still the last to come on board. Some people don't like the idea. Some people feel as though the United States will be the last to come on board because the United States is getting out of crypto completely, right? Whether it's Ripple and some other companies eventually, I guess, let's face it, may very well take their business to Europe or wherever. But the key thing is, I think it's a combination of everything. Does the United States want to be the guinea pigs of testing some of this stuff out? In some cases, it may seem to be that case. In other cases, it might just be just that. They don't want to be the guinea pigs. A little bit more about the U.S., because a lot of us, the majority of us, watch from the U.S. Speaking of the U.S. meme stock craze of the summer 2021 highlighted the need to reduce settlement risk from counterparties struggling to meet payments for committed trades. Who talks about this all the time? You've seen Coach JV talk about this all the time. You've seen Crypto Lulu, aka Luce Jackson, talk about this all the time. You see Verson Malarja, right? Black Swan Capitalists, always talking about what? Reducing settlement risk from counterparties to meet payments. But when it comes to, again, back to like Liechtenstein Exchange or some of these other things, digital tokens with instant settlement could reduce counterparty liquidity and operational risk. Hence, obviously, why we're invested in the likes of Ripple's XRP or Stellar's XLM. Collateral requirements could basically decline. All right, finally, let's jump to this part. Tokenization could widen access. How so? Well, it could increase the customer base for assets, particularly illiquid ones that involve significant paperwork currently. In a tokenized world, investors could buy a fraction, again, listen to this part, of a financial asset rather than the whole thing, increasing the potential pool of retail investors. This fuels the fire of why some people feel as though even when it comes to institutions or even when it comes to retail, how about both? It's like, do you own a full Bitcoin? Do you own a quarter of a Bitcoin? Do you own a half a Bitcoin? But at the end of the day, increasing the potential pool of retail investors, or in this case, even some of the institutional ones. All right. I know I said finally. This is actually the final part. For the UK to be a leader here, and they do need to be a leader here because this is their focus if you think about it, it needs to build on its plans for a treasury-led financial markets infrastructure sandbox. And this is the juicy part because this has been verified even in some of the terminology. And I wish I had the clip, but I don't have it. But if anything, hopefully, if you guys have been following me for many months now or over a year, I've consistently shown the connections to this. And I especially did have the clip at one point where you literally heard Augustine from the Bank of International Settlements use this same type of terminology, and that is the market infrastructure sandbox. And it was even mentioned, I think, even in the quant trailer for the public release for Overledger. So that's big, big stuff. This is a facility to test new ideas in a controlled environment before they're potentially unleashed on the markets. For the same reason that if I was able to show you a 27-second long video, how easy it is for you to develop and deploy an ERC20 token, meme token, how easy it is to use Quant's Overledger to create that institutional type of coins and tokens, right? They end up becoming QRC 720 tokenized, projects, if you will. All right. We're going to jump back into the comments here in a bit. There's a little bit more of what we have, but I kind of need to keep up with the balance. And on this next part that we're going to get into, we're going to talk about the unlocking of the power of just that, securities through tokenization. Just keep this in mind before we get into it. Unlocking the power of securities tokenization sets out 3 key missions to accelerate the digital transformation of the UK's capital markets. And in this, we'll have some video representation or displays, if you will. They'll give you a better idea through actual visuals of why you should pay attention to some of this stuff. All right. So let me stop the screen. I'm going to come back. Let's read some comments here. Let's see what we have. Sorry about all the noise in the background. Tim Shays says, Mr. Lambos, Max does a great job. If he gets Eve on the show, we'll upgrade him to Stellar. You'll upgrade me to Stellar? I already have Stellar. Oh, that's just a pun. I get what you're saying. The SEC has his own YouTube channel with Gary. I sent it to Max. Yeah, it's got like hardly any subs, any views. Nobody gives a crap about that guy. I can show you guys here in a bit, though. I don't know. Let me just do that because you did send it to me, and it's worth pointing out. Let me see what we got. Yeah, here it is. Let me share this real quick, just for the heck of it. All right. Jeez, Gary Gensler. God. Yeah, here it is. It says, let me take off that highlight real quick. All right. Yeah, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, 13,000 subs, 12,900. We have more subs than the SEC. I mean, shout out to us, right? I guess that makes us feel good. Yeah, I mean, what the heck? London Interbank Offered Rate. I'm not going to play a video, but how about this? I'll give him a thumbs down. Anyway, what is the London Interbank Offered Rate or LIBOR office hours with Gary Gensler? Oh, wow. Gary Gensler. 86 views. Comments are turned off. Oh, yeah, because, they don't want to hear all the criticism. This guy believes that Jasmine's going to go $20 a coin. Anyway. All right. Well, glad to share that. Thank you to Mr. Michael Montclair. My bone is looking magnificent. Yeah, you know what? Let's pull that up as well. Bone. And you know what's in the top 100 now? Let's recognize what's going on with the bone. All right. So earlier I saw it was at an even 100. So some people might wonder, like, why didn't this happen sooner? Why did it have such low ranking? The reason why they have, or the reason why it wasn't in the top 100 before is because you got to keep in mind, sometimes when you go where it says market cap right here, there'll be a little caution sign, and it'll say self-reported market cap. That means, basically speaking, that CMC, again, owned by Binance, has not verified that market cap. This is now a verified market cap of 315,433,800. That's pretty big. Now we know that Bone, like it shows right here, has a circulating supply of 229,923,000. And I believe it's the top performer of the day, is it not? Yes, it is. Up 24.20%. On a 7-day chart, up 45%. Even on the 1 hour, that's not bad as well. 4.39% increase. Now at $1.37. And again, guys, now currently ranked 99th overall. It is part of the top 100. Very, very cool stuff. Shout out to all you guys who got into this for well over a year, a given, right? And also shout out to you guys who bought the bottom roughly, was it June or July? I know it was somewhere around then of last year in roughly the 33-cent range, something like that, 33, 35 cents. That's awesome. You recognized those prices. You bought the bottom, and hopefully you loaded up and, or DCA multiple times. Maybe you didn't just do 33, 35 cents, but I definitely remember that because we used to cover that quite a bit. So cool stuff. All right, let's jump back to a few more comments. Blackwood says hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes. Yeah, I remember that little video. The Ghost says he doesn't try to have expectations this way. If everything goes parabolic, he feels that he'll feel much better. I'm not saying you specifically, but there's a lot of people that were into like just meme tokens and meme tokens only. And that is their expectations. I think Max should interview Gensler. Oh, God. Yeah. Well, if he came on, which I don't think he would, but if he did come on, it would be quite interesting. You guys would probably roast the living hell out of him. But, I wouldn't put it past it. I mean, I give this girl a shout out. I know some of you guys watch her. Her name is Mind Teen Crypto. Randy Hipper? What was it, guys? Like a couple weeks ago, a month ago, something like that. She actually got Michael Saylor to come on her show. And her channel has, I think, 500 less subs than ours. So that was pretty big. She's also been featured on Fox News or Fox Business. All right, let's go further down the comments. Let's see. Max is a great researcher. I like doing research myself. Would love to be an assistant because I'm a very impatient content creator. Oh, you are a content creator. Well, show us your channel, man. We'll give you, a plug. Something that we always do. We try to help and recognize other content creators. Yeah, go ahead and just drop it, like whatever the name of your channel is, and we'll pull it up for you. Let people know to sub. Yes. So, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. If you want to be an assistant, or as we call a CTN sideline reporter, all you gotta do is you gotta follow me, and I'll come out of the frame, or back in the frame. Sorry. Just go ahead and follow me at DPG Maximus right up here. And then you basically just tag me on whatever article or video you find. And then, depending on how the show goes, we'll reference it during the show, especially if it's worthwhile. And then share it. And you'd be like what I refer to as a sideline reporter. All right. Max knows his shiznit. Well, thanks, Boomer. Appreciate that, man. All right. Michael Montclair, I'm buying Max a huge gift when things happen, plus a free concert. Oh, thanks, man. You really want to hook me up with a concert? I'll say this for the record. I really wanted to see Nas in concert with Lauryn Hill last time. I wasn't able to do that because it's just way too expensive. And then the last one was it Nas or Wu-Tang Clan? I wouldn't mind going to see that again, but I imagine it's going to be just insanely expensive. So some of the concerts just ever since COVID happened, just became just unbelievably outrageous. Like what would typically be like at the very most $100 ticket became $500, $1,000. It's like, what the heck, man? I love these guys and I love their music, but not to the point where. And I think you guys kind of agree with this. For me, it was like, all right, $1,000 for one amazing night, or $1,000 where I load up more on my Stellar or my Jasmine or whatever, my QNT, whatever, right? Recognizing what's on sale. For me, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go with what's on sale. you know, and then I just listen to some of my favorite songs on YouTube and stuff like that. And it's not the end of the world, but thanks, man. Appreciate that. All right. The Ubiquitous Coast. Is that the name of your channel? That'd be awesome. All right. Just give me verification and we'll see. You're gonna give Ackman a nice XLM shirt when it reaches $11. It's gonna be reaching a heck of a lot higher than that, in my opinion. I mean, you know, again, guys, check out the whole thing about Axios. It's literally Stellar's answer for Ripple's ODL. Really. I mean, if you're going to allow people to take on the U.S. debt and pay and get and earn a yield, I'm supposed to believe that there's not going to be much value for that. I think there'll be a tremendous amount of value, and that doesn't even include just the United States. This also means we could take on some of the debt maybe of other countries, for crying out loud. And we've seen some things, you know, as much as people hate CBDCs, and don't get me wrong, I understand where that comes from. It seems like the CBDCs was like some of the culprit of, you know, getting things like this, whether it's Stellar or some of these other ones going. All right, let's see. Zen is a great project, says Michael Montclair. Anybody else in Zen? If a lot of you guys are into Zen, maybe we could try covering it sometime. Common Sense Talk, a great segment. Oh, thank you. JG Max, what's your top of the market price prediction for QNT? Not financial advice. You guys are gonna think I'm nuts. You're gonna think I'm a cuckoo bird when you hear this. But I've done even a YouTube short about this, and that YouTube short was our most popular YouTube short. All right. I realize we might lose some people about this, but you know what? This whole concept that as a content creator, I'm not allowed to say certain things. You get where I'm going with this, right? So as a content creator, it's like a lot of content creators bite their tongue about stuff because they're afraid about the backlash, right? Which sucks. I'm a person. I should have an opinion on how I personally feel about it. So this is just how I personally feel. And, you know, I hope this doesn't honestly cause people to just like nosedive and unsubscribe and stuff like that. And it does sound crazy. This is my own personal belief and so on. I truly believe that at the height, it is possible. Again, it's just a possibility. The QNT could be the first $1 million coin. Okay. I know some people think that's just nuts. All right. I also feel as though that well before then, 100,000 per QNT. Now you may say, I know where you're going with this. You keep saying this every now and then. I will keep saying it, yes, because it's basically like this. If BTC with not much utility, or some people say without no utility, but I'll give credit, it's got some. If BTC with virtually not much utility, dinosaur technology, if you will, that cannot scale, again, BTC maxis will say, what about the Lightning Network? I get it. I don't want to take that deep dive. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. But with that said, I'm talking about BTC. I'm not talking about BSV because I am sold on BSV. I'm with Cool Cat on that one. He knows what he's talking about. The proof is in the research. It's not just, oh, this is fake Toshi. We're not talking about BSV. All right. We are talking about BTC. So with BTC, if it was able to go to 69K with not much utility, okay, with more of a supply, it was able to do that, then what about the one that allows for interoperability, again, with 100 plus blockchains, has now gone public, is the one literally that's going to solve quite a few things, as we saw with confirmation from Augustine of the Bank of International Settlements. The central bank of central banks is the Bank of International Settlements. And also we verified that connection with the Bank of England. I never forget how much criticism I used to get about that. Oh, you're just like all the other ones. I'm not talking about you guys, but I'm talking about people in the comments. I don't forget that stuff, from the recorded videos. Oh, this is all speculative. Literally connected the dots. I'm a school teacher, and also I as an instructor as much as I can when I can. I have to have references. And anybody that's taught, especially Sobo, she knows how it is. We were always taught you have to provide at least 2 solid references. It can't be Wikipedia. Okay. So my thing was, I show on video, I do the deep dives, and I present evidence, in my opinion, that supports the thesis of there's a solid connection. And I wasn't the only one who did that. You saw, for instance, shout out to San NL, Quant Papa, Tokenizer, Greg Lunt, on and on and on. All these connections about quant in the past that people considered being speculative. Oh, Project Hamilton, Project Icebreaker, Project Rosalind. Project Rosalind has been verified. Project Hamilton has been verified. Project Icebreaker, which led into Project Rosalind, has also been verified. So with all of that, we're talking about the institutional money. People still have doubts and will still call quant an ERC. It's just an ERC20 token. Why would I want to get into it? Quant is so much bigger than just being an ERC20 token. Like even Son had a whole outline. Tokenizer had a whole outline talking about that. At the end of the day, some people just don't get it. Like there's some of you guys are into, for instance, like XLM. There's some people that just don't get XLM. They don't want no part of Stellar. They don't want no part of Ripple. Or a person just holds Stellar, they don't hold Ripple. Or they just hold Ripple, they don't hold Stellar. Or they just have, Ripple's XRP and they don't have nothing else. They're like a Ripple maxi. I'm not that person. As much as I get as much praise about QNT and Jasmine and some of these other things, as you guys know, I'm very well diversified. So my thing, when you talk about the top market price, that's the way I look at it by 2030. Now, obviously, some people feel as though, well, that's by 2030, man. But what about like, the height of, the next, the fourth boom cycle, if you will. Well, the way I look at it is like this. Minimum, if you want to just go with low bond, I really feel as though like 10,000 a QNT. That's just how I personally feel. At the height of like maybe by the end of 2025, going to 2026, some people think that's just crazy. It's okay. Could I be wrong? Absolutely, I could be wrong. I'm a human being. But my thing is, again, you're starting to see this shift. You're starting to see the institutional money coming in. If it's so easy to deploy an ERC20 token contract to be a garbage meme token, and now you have this thing, basically speaking, that makes things so easy for a dev to come in and they don't have to learn a whole new coding language. Like, let's say that dev only knows like C# or C++, and it's like, well, I wanted to join this blockchain project, but they wanted me to learn. I'm just throwing this example out there, not saying it has to be this way. They want me to learn Python. They want me to learn all this JavaScript language, other coding languages and so on. I'm just not willing to do that extra time. Yes, it takes money and time and so on. You have something with Quant's Overledger that, like it says, like 3 lines of code, make it easily and frictionless to create and deploy coin and token contracts through the actual Quant's Overledger, and it gives you a breakdown on how many QNT credits, if you will, in regards to that annual contract, right, to use their operating system. Okay, and then there's only a limited amount of QNT, as we know, that's out there. 14.81 million. I mean, significantly less than BTC. It has more layers of utility of anything out there. I know some people may say, no, Max, you're wrong. Well, that's just fine. It's okay. I'm not the type of guy to get angry about people and hate on them. And I see other content creators. I won't mention this guy's name. If Quant Pop is watching right now, this guy is a content creator. I'll just say this. He's a Ripple content creator, and shame on him for cussing out a person just because he provided you evidence or research, and that guy just wants to be a lowlife and cuss this person out. I mean, real lowlife stuff. Like, I mean, we're talking like a gutter bum. Like, why would you want to do this? And like, Quant Papa never even lashed out at the guys. You want to know something? Some people say I'm a kind person. Quant Papa is a kind person. He doesn't do that either. He doesn't lash out at people just because they go after him and so on. But anyway, that's the way I look at it. There's this has, as in QNT, the most layers of utility of anything out there. And of course, I believe in BSV2 and some of these other ones. That's why I want to be diversified. But and that's me lowballing. So I give you the low ball, I give you the high. I could be wrong. I'm a human being, but Again, I'll go back to the whole thing about BTC over and over. And of course, some of the BTC maximalists will say, well, of course, BTC is going to always be the top one because most people still won't know about QNT and so on. Okay, I hear you on that. But if institutional money, literally, we have proof, Bank of International Settlements is nothing to dismiss. They are the central bank of central banks. Bank of England is nothing to dismiss. So these financial hubs, global financial hubs, even if you're a person that's not in a QNT, you don't believe it. You're like, oh, it's just an ERC20 token. I'll never get into that. Well, that tells me that these institutional players have more than recognized that this is not just a token. And again, QNT, their focus is not the retail. But you want to know something? I can get over the idea of having to pay a gas fee for, or high gas fees for generational wealth, just as much as the people who make such big complaints about ERC20 gas fees own freaking meme tokens. That's one thing I don't understand. We're going to literally bitch and moan, pardon my expression, okay? I know I'm going to say it one more time. We're going to bitch and moan about ERC20 gas fees, but the same people who complain about these things own what? Meme tokens. But that's okay. Yeah, exactly. All right. Anyway, let's go further down the comments. B-Rise needs to wake up. It does. Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk. I gave up on B-Rise a long time ago. All right, the Ghost. We're blessed, Max. We still did decently in crypto already. Yeah, but my thing is I'm not satisfied. I mean, and you also got to keep in mind, like for myself, of that, taking 10K and turn it to 120, that's 110K in profit, if you will. Also got to I paid my taxes on that. So, like I already reinvested like 75K. So it's like, yeah, so it's like I have to make this stuff work, right? But it will, I gotta finish the marathon, the race, and recognize what's on sale. And I have tripling my position in Algo a while back, doubling my position in XLM, but I'm still not satisfied with that. We all had different goals. But thank you for that. All right, let's go. Just a couple more questions or comments. Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk says, yeah, good luck. Just more questions than answers and certainties with that project. I think you guys are talking about B-Rise. Mike Montclair says, yeah, but my gut is never wrong. It's just great on its timing. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to go with your gut, even if you feel as though, like, even if you end up being wrong, it's your gut. Your gut instincts are always there for a reason. I mean, and knowing that, I mean, if you've done a proper amount of research and you're like completely convinced that that's solid, then who's to say that you're not right? Anyway, I'll read one more comment. Andrew Davis, Casper has no VCs, no ICO, no pre-allocation to the team, fastest payments, bullish chart, and highest gain percentage for the year. Just check it out, Max. It'll hit 5 to 10 next bull cycle. We did an intro to it. We have a video about it and so on. I've done more than check it out. It's one of my top 6, because I did include another one the other night that I have to get into. But yeah, I'm more than convinced about it and so on. And in fact, I mean, I'll just state this: once I personally get into it, because that's my thing, I'll start tagging it, and then it gets proper coverage. I'm totally convinced about Casper. You guys don't have to sell me on Casper. I'm there. I'm totally there on that. And how about this? I'm glad you mentioned about the thing about no VCs, no ICO. So that tells me that, not guaranteed, but more than likely, it's not going to be the target of the SEC because of some of the things that was mentioned. They don't like ICOs. They don't like IDOs either, which is initial DAO offerings. All right, let me double check the other screen, make sure I didn't forget anything. If I didn't welcome some people, it's not on purpose. Welcome to Miguel. Glad to have you here, Miguel. Welcome to Elon Muff, the one, the only. Welcome to GT. Max, you know what I find curious when it comes to QNT. You like it, but George from Cryptos R Us doesn't say it isn't meant for us to get rich off. Both have IT backgrounds. That's just a difference of opinion, man. I mean, I understand that, like, he obviously holds way more clout or a lot more followers of him compared to me. where does it end with this? I mean, I have no disrespect to what's his name? God, what's the guy's name? Da Vinci, right? Da Vinci Jeremy. I think he's probably a nice person. He's networked with somebody that's part of the CTN fam, right? Obviously, Maria Anderson, great lady. He doesn't, you know what I mean? He doesn't like Ripple's XRP and so on. Does that mean he misses out on it eventually when the utility run comes? Yeah, you better believe it. He's a Bitcoin maxi. I don't mean that any disrespectfully, but there's a lot of other content creators that look at it this way. You know, like I don't want to get into QNT ERC20 token, or I don't believe that it's going to make us become wealthy and so on. You know, they dismiss the opportunity. You know, like, you know how many content creators I see dismiss the opportunity of QNT, you know, XRP, XLM for one main reason. Not just because, you know, QNT is like an ERC20 token, but the main reason is because of the ties to CBDCs. You got to keep in mind, the way I look at it, the darn thing is a tool, right? And, you know, so some people say, well, only a tool would invest in it. You know, I get one saying, well, you're a tool. But no, the way I look at it, it's kind of like, again, and I'll use this analogy again, you know, you guys know my stance about when it comes to owning firearms and so on, you know what I mean? The way I look at it is, you know, like, again, reference to the movie Shane, you know, a gun is no bad or no more evil than the person, you know, it depends on whose hands it is, for good or evil. I could look at CBDCs the same way. CBDCs could be used for absolute good, like what you've seen outlined from Gilbert Verdian. He's even mentioned some of these things. Okay, literally, like, you know, it could really be used for good. Richard Common Sense Crypto, I watch him. You guys watch him and so on. He's mentioned that. We don't dismiss it. We don't condone, you know, evil things happening for it. But if I'm going to look at like a firearm being used for either good or evil, I'm looking at it as being a tool. I'm going to look at a CBDC. Yes, it could be used for good or evil. It's also a tool. It depends on whose hands it's in. So some people are going to have the attitude, well, if that's the case, then you're just as bad as, like, you know, Nazi Germany, Max, because, you're giving in to the, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. Yeah. But my thing is this, you know, it's like, it is a personal case of if you can't beat them, join them. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. All this stuff is going to come. They're going to be tied into everything. Am I going to really sit on the sidelines and watch everyone else get rich and wealthy because my politics of holding some of these digital assets, I want to be labeled as that one guy that had better principles than the next and so on? I think that's absurd. Why is that? Well, for many reasons. I mean, how about this? All right, here's a perfect example. Larry's not on the show. Some of you guys, I love Larry, right? He's my brother, my not brother in real life, but I mean, I love him like a brother. He's like, you know, he's one of my best friends. I really got to know him and so on. I know some of you guys have made complaints and so on. I'm not mentioning any names. There's a few of you guys, right? There's like literally like over a handful of you guys. Okay. I don't want no disrespect going on in the chat. People saying that people are Karens or anything like that. Please don't do that. All right. If you have respect for me, just don't do that right now. I want to state this. Okay. Larry is the perfect example of somebody who listened to a person who said, and listen to this, don't get into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is used by drug cartels. It's used for money laundering. It's used for the whole thing that happened with Silk Road. Okay. So who owns 1% of all the Bitcoin, of all the BTC? All right. It's the government. How's that? Because these big, you know, drug cartels, when they had their assets or, you know, even the people from Silk Road, right? When they had their assets seized, again, the government seized that, right? So they own like 1%, which is a big chunk. I mean, it may not seem like it, but that's a big chunk. The U.S. government owns the most amount of BTC. If you think that's BS, look it up for yourself. So my point is this: Larry was told some bad info in the past, and that is don't get involved into BTC. And maybe this was back in I think it was 2013. Larry would have been more than set. Now, of course, if he was more than set, obviously, I don't even know if I'd be with you guys because, I mean, I came to this platform as an opportunity compared to my other platform. It was more of an opportunity to come here. Will I slow down the whole crypto thing? Yeah. but I think it would have been more focused on recorded videos. I wouldn't have done live shows and stuff like that because I had an issue with coming on camera. Maybe I still eventually would have. Who knows, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not called Crypto Talk Now, but something else. Like Filipino Ice Cube Talk Now. I don't know. I'm just throwing out an example. But my thing is, again, bad advice. Told it was evil. He didn't hop on board. Now think about this for a second. So that was the narrative then. Don't get involved with this. Bitcoin is evil. It's bad. Silk Road, money laundering, drug dealing, all this stuff. And then what do you see now? Especially, Bitcoin is freedom. Only invest in BTC. You get what I'm saying? Where does this thing end? We can apply so many things of these concepts to so many darn things, like the music industry. Oh, Max, you love hip hop. You are not a true Christian. Really? I'm not a true Christian because I love hip hop. No, you're not a true Christian. They use profanity in their lyrics. Any true Christian wouldn't listen to that. Okay. I happen to love listening to stories. Well, if you want stories, just read a book. Okay. Well, technically, the way I look at hip hop is some of these are great stories, like musically speaking, kind of similar to reading a book, but enjoying the music as well. So should I stop reading books? No. We could go on and on about this. How about this? We throw Tom Cruise in the whole mix, right? Scientology, that's like bogus freaking nonsense, right? In my opinion, right? We know that Tom Cruise is tied into Scientology. Tom Cruise is a complete nutbag. He's a cuckoo bird. Oh, well, since he's a big cuckoo bird, I don't like his politics and religion, so I think I need to boycott Tom Cruise. Or how about, I don't even know what they're called now. So again, I forgot what you guys mentioned. The Dixie Chicks back in the day. Oh, the Dixie Chicks supported, who was it? George Bush back in the day. And everybody didn't like George Bush back in the day. So, I'm going to stop listening to the Dixie Chicks. I'm going to burn all their albums. Or some other artists. Oh, this person said, come on. We listen to the music because it sounds good to our ears. If you're going to get involved in all the politics, all the religion, all the thing that an actor did, like, we won't be able to watch the television, we won't be able to listen to anybody. We won't, how about like what was it, Nestle company, Nestle Quick? Oh, they did something to the water, so I can't have Nestle Quick no more, for my strawberry milk because they did something bad. Don't drink Fanta anymore. Oh, why shouldn't I drink Fanta? Because you know what, Nazi Germany, they gave out Fanta. Oh, really? So I shouldn't do that. Oh, I shouldn't drive a Volkswagen. I shouldn't drive a Mercedes-Benz because Hitler was, paraded around Berlin. You get my point. I think I've freaking talked enough about this. Where does it end? So no, I'm not gonna miss out on the biggest generational shift, generational wealth. And believe it or not, giving into some of that stuff fuels the debate or the narrative of what, guys? That fear, that uncertainty, that's a different type of FUD. Absolutely. All right. Enough about it. I went on a little tangent right there, didn't I? Anyway. Super chat came in from the one, the only Henry Brown. Let me go ahead and get to that. I appreciate it. Henry Brown, $5 super chat. He says hip hop started in the West / Filipino Ice Cube belling through the East without a vest. LOL throwing lyrical jabs at Tim Shea / Tim Dog. LOL East Coast. Oh, geez, I gotta make a remix to this. Hip hop started in the West. Filipino Ice Cube being through the East without a vest. So listen to Henry Brown as he throws a slug in his Smith & West. Joins the freaking show. Let's go. And welcome Mr. Southern Contrarian with the comment before it's too late and the show is ready to blow. I'm kidding. All right, but thank you again to $5 for the $5 super chat from Henry Brown. Always appreciate your support, man. But I will welcome Southern Contrarian. Watching you regularly makes me feel like I'm a part of the small group of intelligent people that's seen Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, SMS, HTTPS coming before they came. You show and verify your claims. This is a lot of rhyming. Well, thank you, man. That means a lot. Consider changing your avatar, Southern Contrarian, to I don't know, something that speaks more about who you are and what you're about. But let's give them a warm welcome. And Boomer F and Sooner Reed did it. So that's what I love. I love seeing that. Let me jump back to the other previous comment further up. I know on a tangent. Thank you to Elon Musk for the $2 super chat. How long ago was that? Did I already read that one? I don't think I did. So sorry about that, Elon Musk. Didn't mean to miss out. Did I miss that one too? Sending positive energy. Well, thank you. I do appreciate you guys super chat. Sorry, it took me a while to get to some of that. All right. Patient Ninja, where do you see Jasmine by 2024? I'm currently down 90%. You know what? You are a very unique person. Okay, I give you a shout out for still being in Jasmine. You didn't give in to some of those fudders. There's this one guy. I won't even mention his name, but every opportunity he gets, he still posts. And I know he has multiple accounts because he words everything the same way. He's a fudder, but anyway, he always points out like, oh, everybody's down 90%, but everything he references points out like about people who bought out at the top of the mountain. It's like that can be applied not just to Jasmine. We could apply it to Ripple's XRP. We could apply it to BTC. Like, never buy the top of the mountain. It don't even matter if it's cryptocurrency, stocks, you name it, right? Never buy the top of the mountain. But here's the thing: don't feel bad. I bought the top of the mountain in the past and so on. It was part of my learning experience, getting some bad info from one of my own personal friends. Oh, Max, you got to buy, I'm telling you flat out, all these other ones are going down, but Polygon is going to go in the opposite direction now, so technically speaking, like, it's like, I don't think so, man. I think a lot of stuff is going down. No. I'm right on this one, bro. Trust me. I'm like, whatever. All right. I guess I do trust you. And I let him know later, like, hey, man, I love you. You're my brother and all that, but not again. It's a learning experience, so I overpaid for my Polygon originally. So, but just like you probably, you're down 90% tells me you overpaid for your Jasmine. But you know what? Are you beating up yourself to the point where like you give into the FUD? No. So where do I see Jasmine by 2024? That 2024 in reality is less than 6 months away. When do you mean in 2024? Is it after the Bitcoin halving? There's some key things about that. So I'm not going to necessarily mention 2024, but the way I look at it is in this next boom cycle, the height of that boom cycle, the way I look at it is at minimum, I see Jasmine sometime in 2025, whether it's at the end of 2025, because I know you put 2024, but for me, it's more of 2025. I see at least $1 per Jasmine. Now, the KPI targets from the Jasmine team is $17. They made that public. Some people think that's bat-ish crazy, but there's a lot of key factors when it comes to Jasmine that is definitely worth pointing out. Hold on a second. I got to double check the time real quick because I got to pick up this prescription. All right, we're still doing that on time. So there's other key factors when it comes to Jasmine. So I don't know if the guy's here. I think it's McSuser is his name. He might be watching right now. I think he's one of the type of guys in which he just doesn't comment. So basically speaking, it's like, how should I say this? It's like the KPI targets. Yeah, sorry, I got kind of distracted right there. So the KPI targets. So McSuser pointed out that there's about 107 million people in Japan. Is that why, for instance, the Jasmine team set up, like, for instance, 107 million, was it PDLs or something like that? I mean, it kind of makes sense, but we know there's so much more than just Japan. But I don't know. That might be a coincidence. But anyway, my thing is this. So it fuels the debate of you want to have, at least I do, I'm not satisfied with my 1 million Jasmine. That's for me personally. Please don't be the type of person that's like, you got to go swap everything for Jasmine because I said that. No. For me, I have new goals for Jasmine, right? Like now, I have over 1 million of these things. I want to have at least 2 or 3 million. That way, once we hit $1 for my first big bag over 1 million of these things, I could take my profits at $1. Then when we hit, for instance, $5 or $10 or higher, my other bags, and then a third one for I just hold that for, like, who knows, maybe to 2026, 2030, you name it, and so on. That way, if I cash out all of it, all 1 million at $1, I don't want to be that guy that's like, crap, man, I should have kept holding on. But if anything, we all take our profits. It just depends on what we do with our bags. And you know what? For other people that have, for instance, $1 million, maybe they don't even cash out the whole $1 million. Maybe they just cash out like a quarter of it, half of it. It just depends. You know, again, if you're well diversified in multiple projects, this helps that whole thing of like, no, you don't have to just cash out the whole thing. But I definitely believe that we should take profits on a lot of things. Again, depending on the project. Like for me, QNT, XRP, XLM, and a few others are the ones that I'm personally married to. You'll see consistently, especially some of those Shiba Inu top influencers, not going to mention their names, but you know who they are because they always say, you know, don't be married to any crypto. Yes, for the most part, but there are exceptions. For me, the exceptions is QNT, Ripple's XRP, Stellar's XLM. Those three, I probably will marry them because I realize that they're going to have a high value in the future, and I would like to earn yields off of that. You know, some form of interest. All right, let me see. I'm going to go further down and just read a couple more comments, get back into the outline because I'm going to have to get going here, I don't know, within the next half an hour. So let me see where we're at. I'll read this from Josh. He says he forgot, if U.S. needs debt tokenization, what crypto would likely tokenize this debt? My math said, you know, crypto at 100,000 each. Damn, my iPhone calculator max. All right, so I'm gonna re-advise you guys something. Again, it's not. How about this? It's not financial advice. It's research advice. Okay, big difference. Okay, because I'm an educator. This is what I do. I'm gonna point to this. Let me show you guys. I mean, I put work into these videos, right? So some videos do really well, some don't. Sometimes I have better thumbnails than others. I don't know. I try to be consistent with my thumbnails, but I have to recognize that sometimes I make thumbnails that are like a little bit better than the other. Like, so for instance, the Jasmine Aces video, that's probably like one of the best looking thumbnails I've ever made. I mean, that's a work of art in my opinion. But anyway, if you get further into this, go here, and I'm going to blow it up more. I'm going to full screen this, okay? So this is in reference to you, Josh, okay? Because you know how you said, if the U.S. needs debt tokenization, what crypto would likely tokenize this debt? Here's the answer to this question. Hopefully, Josh, you're still here, and I hope that you're listening to this, and I'm not just preaching in the choir. But this applies to anybody. Check out today's video, unless you were a person that watched this on the live, but this was towards the end of the show, and there wasn't many people who got to see it on the live. But, you know, the beautiful thing about this, you can pause it and so on. It's this one on the top left. Stellar XLM is Axios Stellar's answer to Ripple's on-demand liquidity. My answer is to that question is yes. And it answers this question in regards to what crypto would likely tokenize this debt. Axios is a brand new project that is being built on, for instance, Stellar. Okay. And with that said, there you go. That answers your question. So, and they're talking about, for instance, earning a yield, getting paid interest for taking on that debt. That's mainly what that project's about. Now, I got to take more of a deeper dive into it. This is more of an introduction into Axios. But come on, man. I mean, for those who pay attention to Stellar, they're already in the know. I mean, you know, Sorbonne is literally Stellar's answer to Ethereum. Axios is Stellar's answer to Ripple's ODL, right? On-demand liquidity. MoneyGram is Stellar's answer to, I would basically say, MoneyGram is the answer to Western Union. You know, like, how about this? Here's a great analogy. Stellar's MoneyGram is Stellar's answer to Western Union, just like ISO 222 is the Web3 / blockchain answer to the old Swiss system, the old MT messaging system. I think that's a good analogy. Maybe people don't think that, but there's your answer. You need to watch that video. That video is not super long. Some people don't like my deep dive. Some people do. That video is only 11 minutes long, and it gives you the gist and gives you that answer. So check it out, Josh. Okay, cool stuff. All right, I got to get back into the outline because if I don't do it, then we will have an unfinished show, and I got to get going pretty soon. Not just yet. I mean, I'll be here for a bit, but anyway, I'll be here for at least another half an hour or so. You sent me a super chat earlier, Matt. I'm so sorry about that, my friend. I am so sorry about that. I hope you don't hold that against me. Sometimes what happens is it floods the comments, and I don't know. It's just like, I guess there's time limits on what it shows on the super chat. So hopefully I didn't miss any other super chats. Just looked up QNT BTC comparison. QNT up 40% versus 38% over the past year. This is coming from a BTC and Terra Luna Maxi. Jeez, that's funny. Freeport, a blockchain-based platform, tokenizes fine art through fractionalization shares on the Ethereum. You tweet so much stuff, man. I mean, I'm not complaining, but you tweet a ton of knowledge, a ton of great articles. You're awesome, Henry. Thank you for everything you share with our community, man. All right. Corey B-Bay, 808. Only 4 minutes, so only a 4-minute delay. Thank you for $2 super chat. What are your thoughts on XRP and XLM's token supply? So here's my thoughts in regards to that. So Stellar's token supply is literally half of XRP's. I did listen to on the radio, believe it or not, of all places, was talking about it's like a satellite type radio type thing, not traditional radio. But they were talking about David Schwartz and his stance in regards to and even Brad Garlinghouse on their stance in regards to the price of XRP. So it says something about if there's tremendous amount of demand for XRP, you got. I guess what they were saying is, like, hypothetically speaking, after the Ripple victory, there should be tremendous amount of supply and demand for XRP. But the problem, if you want to consider this a problem, there won't be many, I guess you say, like burns. If there's not much demand for Ripple's XRP, you should see a tremendous amount of burns. And they gave an explanation. I don't have it. Shout out to Mike Cornwell, Henry Brown, some of the other guys that might be able to just pull up a clip. I can't pull this up right now. I mean, I could, but it's just be too much focus on it. I'll get further behind in the comments. I'm already behind. I need to get the outline going. But it was an outline that talked about that. Like, yeah, you should see a tremendous amount of burns if they're not meeting the goals for that supply and demand, which sounds absurd to a sense. But already with Stellar, with their token supply, it's already half the supply of what Ripple is. So does that mean that creates that much more demand for Stellar? My answer is no. It doesn't create that much more demand for Stellar, but what it does create is more scarcity, which, let's face it, could lead to more of that supply and demand. But just on the surface, more scarcity. I mean, blatantly more scarcity because of less of supply. I mean, for the same reason that we recognize QNT, less of supply. Does that create more demand? Well, some people will say yes, because it's I don't know, what is it, 8 million? Where are we at? Yeah, about 8 million less tokens. But I would say more demand because it's got more, way more layers of utility. Again, I know we're talking about XRP and XLM, but just on the surface, that's some of the way I look at it and so on. As far as XRP, okay, so some of the things I was mentioning is like Ripple is not focused on retail or especially for XRP. But we do know that all these things kicking in as far as, I guess you could say, utility, the institutional money through Ripple's on-demand liquidity, right, will be more than good if people are worried about Stellar having half as much of that supply. So all these factors are things to consider. But thank you for $2 super chat. That's a long conversation. That deserves like a proper, maybe like a recorded deep dive, But I'll state this. I mean, I don't know how many other people you follow. And let me double check the time again, because sometimes I'm worried about 8:15. I probably gotta leave like no later than 25 to 30 minutes from now. We might not be able to get into everything else. I'll try my best. So I'll just read a couple more. You owe it to yourself to follow like Lewis Jackson, right? Known as Crypto Lulu. Versana Larja. I would say like mainly those two. Tokenizer. So I don't know if you use Twitter. They call it crypto Twitter. Lewis Jackson is probably going to do the best job of breaking down the differences of the supply and his thoughts, and why some of these things make sense. I mean, he has an outline about, like, for instance, through ODL, why over double the supply simply makes sense on the institutional side or way of looking at things for Ripple. It's a long explanation. There's a lot more to get into it. Good evening, Max. I hope all is well with your dad. I wish you and your family the best. He's getting worse. I'm not gonna lie about that. He has good moments, he has bad moments, but he's getting worse, and it's sad. I try not to worry because, I keep being advised to put it in the Lord's hands, trust in God, and I try to do that. It's just from the perspective of, like, he's the only family I really got left. He's the only family I have here in Arizona, let's just say. But he's up there in Arizona, but he's getting worse. Like right now, in the background, he seems fine, but it's just earlier, man. It's just like, man, what is wrong with you? Like, he'll ask me questions. Just, I don't know if it's because he's just dead dog tired, in combination, like, maybe being dehydrated. It's just a lot, I'm sure some of you guys, you're going through whatever you're going through, but I do appreciate it. You love the Axios Stellar video. Awesome work. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Don't forget Whitebit and Stellar. All right. Wes, welcome back, man. Thank you. $5 super chat. CTN always good when I can catch y'all live. Thank you so much for your ongoing support, Wes. Really appreciate you, man. You tagged Larry on a post yesterday. Big deal. Only tagged yesterday. Okay. I can pull that up, man. And thank you, Elon Muff. I'll pull that up for a second. I just want to welcome Menelect. Hello, is it Menelect we're looking for? Why now, Richie? You knew I was going to do it, my friend. All right, let's pull up Mr. Elon Muff. Where the Muff? All right, here's the one from the Muff. All right, Mr. Elon Muff. I do see this one. You tagged me on yesterday, or you tagged Larry. My bad. I did see it. All right, here's the tag from yesterday from the one and only Mike Cornwell. All right, so New York Fed, Citi, Wells Fargo, HSBC, and others complete digital currency trial. All right, we'll pull this up. And let's take it to the article. Shoot, darn cookie settings. I only want the necessary. Analytics, nope, I'm not sharing that with you. Other, nope. Forget you guys. All right. All right, we're good. Okay. All right. For people who don't want me to read verbatim, you got to keep in mind, okay? I have to read this verbatim, all right? I didn't do proper research on this tag, okay? So I got to read a lot of this verbatim. I'll try to summarize if I can. All right, so here we go. Ledger Insights, New York Fed, Citi, Wells, and so on, right? Almost looks like fireworks right there. It says today, and let me blow this up a little bit more. We can at least blow it up more. Today, as in yesterday, the Federal Reserve's New York Innovation Center and 10 financial institutions shared the results of a proof of concept POC of the Regulated Liability Network, RLN. The trial successfully tested commercial bank deposit tokens. Ooh, okay. I could get where you're going with this. And wholesale central bank digital currency wrapped. I keep wanting to call it wrapped. It's not. My bad. Wholesale. Okay. It looks like it's wrapped, right? Because the tokens like wrapped Ethereum, wrapped Luna Classic on a shared DLT infrastructure. The focus of the test includes U.S. dollar payments domestically as well as cross-border. The big idea behind the regulated liability network is for a single market infrastructure to potentially bring together thousands of banks worldwide and one or more central banks. Okay. It's an idea recently echoed by the Bank of International Settlements. Oh, again, unified ledger concept, which it described as a game changer. Huh. Okay. Today's payments are conducted through messaging, which it is. It's like the importance of ISO 222. We get this. With the banks each updating their ledgers separately. Using distributed ledger technology, the messaging and the settlement are unified, reducing the extensive reconciliation process. Additionally, an RLN, should say an ARLN, but that's all right. Interbank payment could simultaneously update both the bank's records and the movement of funds between the banks at the central bank. Right, because you got modern technology, as in distributed ledger technologies. The RLN aims to leverage the cost and speed savings of tokenization and the new business models enabled through programmable money. So, for anybody saying, like, well, this whole thing of ISO 222 is not that big of a deal, because if it was a big deal, we would have saw an insane pump on March 20th. Again, here's a perfect example. You have to have the implementation. You need it fully implemented. Things will not be fully implemented in the United States until, what was it, the end of November 2025. You know, if we're talking about the utility being used on any project, you need to make sure that everything's fully initialized, implemented, you name it. However, to date, most bank tokenization initiatives have worked as islands, and the RLN's goal is to make them interoperable. Quant's overledger, baby. All right, this POC focused on payments in a single currency, but future trials might be expanded to tokenize assets and multiple currencies. So for people that don't, hear me out, right? I should say people. Most of us don't like the idea of CBDCs because we feel as though that's like an infringement on, like, freedom. This thing is enslaving us. Trust me, I get what you're saying. I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole again. But you have to understand what's tied in here. You could basically say that, like, the CBDCs are like, the on ramp. Literally, it's the on ramps from, fiat to what you see with this. TradeFi to DeFi, if you will. This POC focused on payments in a single currency, but future trials might be expanded to tokenize assets and multiple currencies. Might be, they are. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. There's no might be about it. Key RLN POC findings. Both use cases proved a success, okay, but the advantages for domestic payments over existing payments were harder to see. Let me read that again. The advantages for both domestic payments and over existing systems were harder to see. While smart contracts were used, the trial's limited scope meant there wasn't an opportunity to take full advantage of them. In contrast, the transparency, speed, and 24/7 availability for cross-border payments shone through. The prospect of a global instant US dollar payment system that could benefit cross-border settlements merits further serious study. Well, a lot of us already studied that. All right, he's floating this idea about the concept, this guy, McLaughlin. It is important for the regulated financial sector to strongly consider the latest technologies to help ensure that the global digital economy can flourish in a responsible manner. Our large US-based corporate clients have a global operations footprint, and USD is their main operating currency, said Arushi Sood Joshi. No, not who you're thinking, Mike Cornwell, of Wells Fargo. Trapped liquidity across hundreds of accounts is not just a matter of efficiency, but also adds counterparty risk to treasury operations. The ability to freely move cash 24/7 across a company's banking network will be a game changer. Yeah, how many times did I even say that? Even from, like, I always use the example of, like, the Bank of Greece to, like, the Bank of Seoul, South Korea. That messaging standard. But in order for it to flow, you can't have an old MT messaging system from Swift that truncates the message. And if you guys are into IT, you know about message trunking, how messages can truncate. Even if you've been a gamer, don't even do IT, you're in the IT. Have you ever sent a truncated message? Or I don't know if some of you guys ever done modding or any type of, help build like a mod for a game. But even through the coding, right? Even through whether you use C# or C++ or Python, there's what they call message truncation, right? There's a limit of the text. So if you get, like, for instance, Chinese characters or Korean characters, and you send it to somebody else on the opposite side of the world that just use the traditional alphabet and so on, it creates message truncation, in which, to the point that Now you understand that like ISO 222 is so much more than just things going quicker and faster. It's literally taking a message and fully interpreting it on the fly, so there's no truncation. That's part of, again, some of that message flow. All right, there's a lot more to it than here. If there's some area that I missed out, sorry about that. But thank you, Mike Cornwell. I do feel as though this is pretty big, and that's cool stuff. All right, let me just check out a few more comments just real quick. I'll just get into maybe a couple more things. I take Larry, no big deal. Okay. I appreciate all you guys. Annie Rock, thank you. Thank you, Stargazer, as well. Appreciate that. Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I had some problems with my arms. It was really bad. It was brutal, man. I had to like rest my arms. All right, Dildo Shagans, welcome. If this guy, Mr. Larry, can talk about all these women and eggplants and stuff like that, I can call you Dildo Shagans. All right. Good morning from Scotland. I've not been here in a wee while. I lurk in the background. Oh, well, welcome, Mr. Shagans. All right. Let me use that as a reference. Yeah, I probably got to wrap this up here soon. Let me just exit out some of this stuff. There's some real good ones I wanted to get into, but I just didn't have enough time. Hold on a second. That's not it. Oh, man. Kind of sucks. I really wanted to get into some of this stuff. Well, I'll just try to rapidly get into some of this. Yeah. Well, that's all right. I think we talked enough about the tokenization security, so I'm gonna get out of that one. This one's pretty good. It's about Ripple's XRP. Let's just pull this up for just a brief moment. All right, this comes from Cypress to Manacor. You guys have obviously followed. Good guy, right? Very knowledgeable and so on. I do share his tweets once in a while. He says, who in the XRP army community has supporting evidence to debate against these allegations? Let me know. I love to host a Twitter space. All right, he's being objectionable in regards to this, okay? But, it's not necessarily FUD. It's just being objectionable, all right? Let's pull up some of this. And maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to tick people off. And this is not me having a no BS crypto moment or anything like that. It's not like that. Really, it's not like that at all. All right. So here's what he brings up. The serious issues with Ripple and XRP, community-based investigation. It's just community-based. I'm totally sold on the whole idea of on-demand liquidity. I am not going to get out of Ripple's XRP just because I see a post like this. But here it is nonetheless. Let me know what you guys think about this. He says, we've been XRP holders and supporters of Ripple since 2018. I haven't been, right? But, some of you guys have been that long. I mean, for me, it's been, I don't know, man, like maybe over a year and a half. I can't remember. It's time to analyze why the price is not gradually going up and what Ripple is building. In short, what Ripple is doing doesn't benefit the price of XRP and retailers at all. Again, the main focus should be like Ripple is not focused on retail. So is this a valid topic? Well, draw your own conclusion. The same exact people created XRP, XRPL, and Ripple. Creators gave themselves 20 billion XRP and they gifted themselves 80 billion XRP via Ripple. Ripple created a private liquidity hub, their own XRP liquidity pool, to be used for banks, institutions, companies, governments, as well as private XRP loans. Also, they are building Ripple's private ledger for CBDCs. Ripple will utilize their own XRP from their own wallets, meaning the ODL as an on-demand liquidity will be privatized. Every time we reference this, we always mention the privatization of this, especially when it comes to Ripple's XRP. It doesn't positively affect XRP price. Retailers are out of the game. Now, before we get more into this, I want to state this for the record, okay? For everybody who is still focused on March 20th of this year saying, you guys made such a big deal about ISO 222, and you even mentioned that maybe the next day things big would happen. It didn't happen. The only thing that, was worth mentioning was, XDC. I will still re-advise and mention this. You got to understand, is ISO 222 fully implemented? No, it is not. Ripple, for instance, are the central banks of the world fully utilizing, Ripple's on-demand liquidity? No, they are not. Will that happen in the future? I believe it will. Again, the whole concept of why utility-based cryptos are so important and why we pay attention to them is to find the gems, if you will, of the ones that are going to use the utility. Now, I'll use this example, and people may not like this example, but it's absolutely true. And I will mention it again, and I will reference Mark Cuban, and he is right about this. Ethereum, back in 2021, you saw all these new things happening with all these meme tokens going off like crazy. All these ERC20 meme tokens. All these. Let's face it, a lot of them are rug pulls. People are trying to find the next, big, massive pump and dump meme token and so on. But the key thing was every single time we all complain about those gas fees, right? Utility being used, like Mark Cuban was saying. Even on the NFT side of things, okay? Utility being used, the gas over and over. Gas basically means utility being used. Even though we're not a fan of that, being used over and over and over and over. Yes, it's slow. Yes, it's a big fee, but it was being used over and over and over. With what you see here with Ripple's XRP, again, understand that you don't have that mass adoption yet. Believe you me, if there was mass adoption with all this, you really think that Ripple's XRP would be worth between 42 and 50 cents, like it's kind of been hovering in that area? No, there's no way. All right, so I just want to throw that out. The banks, institutions that want to hold XRP, they buy via OTC, which means over the counter. Just checking the time. And they buy XRP for a low price, right? Sale and or directly, for instance, from Ripple. Ripple officially has 6 billion XRP on hand. They also have 4 billion under different private wallets. True. On top of that, there's like 46 billion XRP in escrow, and that's something that gets brought up all the time. The amount they have in escrow. David Schwartz is more than elaborated about that. We're not going to get into that. I don't have the time to get into that right now. Also, Ripple sets up non-cash agreements with companies, pre-allocated, pre-contractual amounts of XRP through the options context. It doesn't, and look at what's highlighted in bold, positively affect XRP price. Why would it? Again, you have to have full implementation. You have to have that mass adoption where, if you understand ODL, then you already know, that on-demand liquidity that will provide that answer for taking on the debt for the central banks or other various countries. It's not just going to be, for instance, take on the U.S. debt and so on. Retailers are out of the game. Eventually, you'll probably see it might be a case where, everybody's talking about, Coinbase eventually relisting XRP. Will there be a point in time where there will be no exchanges? After we get this clarity, will there be no exchanges to list Ripple's XRP? Because if their focus isn't on retail, think about it for a second. Why would there be? Why would it matter so much for them to list XRP on centralized exchanges? Think about it. You know what I mean? So whatever access you still have, like for instance, we're talking about KuCoin was on the 15th. We won't be able to do any spot trading and so on. But whatever means necessary that you have to, get some of this stuff, there might be a perfect example in the future after we get the quote unquote clarity. If they aren't focused on retail, then they are not going to have Ripple's XRP on centralized exchanges. To me, that just, again, it makes sense about that narrative. Do I agree with that? Do I want to see that? I don't want to see that. I want people to have access. All right, this part. The transaction sells in 3 to 5 seconds. We know that. No need to hold buy XRP as stated by Ripple. Most banks, institutions will just utilize XRP from Ripple's liquidity hub. Yes, it doesn't positively affect XRP price. Retailers are out of the game. There is 45 trillion, or wait, hold on. 48 billion XRP in circulation. Sorry about that. One XRP is represented as 1 million drops. Total counting drops. Again, kind of like, the concept of on-demand liquidity drop. Get it? Total counting drops. I guess on this one would be 369. This billions, trillions. My God, quadrillions. 48 quadrillion total drops. There will be an additional 52 billion XRP added to the circulating supply. Let me double check the phone. All right, I'm still all right. Thus, counting drops 52. I'm not gonna count that. You get one cent. It's a lot. Total will be, I guess I'll count this 3, 6, 9. So this is the billions, trillions, quadrillions, 100 quadrillion. Total will be 100 quadrillion. It doesn't positively affect XRP price. Okay, I'm with you, Cypress. Escrow releases 1 billion XRP monthly. Ripple sells, for instance, 200 million XRP. Exchanges and entities buy directly from Ripple. It doesn't positively affect XRP price. How Ripple generates money, and again, listen to this. Just by selling XRP from escrow and from their hands, it generates millions, potentially billions of dollars annually. It doesn't positively affect XRP price. Retailers are out of the game. Very concerning, he says. XRP does not gradually gain the price, while others, old and new coins, do have big gains. Price of XRP for 5 years almost didn't go up. And even before the SEC lawsuit, the USA market is only 5% of the whole XRP customer base. Thus, the SEC case doesn't have much effect on the price, as well as the settlement, especially in the long term. After 10 years, no bank is using XRP for transactions. Now, I don't agree with all this. I'm just being flat out honest. My thing is, why would they go through all this trouble creating, like a bridge with or on-ramping with the CBDCs, understand the concept of like the need for Ripple's on-demand liquidity and so on. I have to disagree with some of this stuff, but it's something that some of the community brings up. Now I'm going to jump into a little bit more in regards to this before I get going here soon, which is within the next 5 or 10 minutes. I'll pull this up right here. This is good stuff. And let's just pull this up for a brief moment. And we'll probably have to wrap up the show after this. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to get the Jasmine stuff and so on. I'll try to get into that another day or on a recorded video. But yeah, let's pull this up. And it basically says XRPL handles 1,500 TPS later with upgrades, maybe up to 70,000 TPS. Now, some of you guys were never aware of some of this stuff. Like we talk about, for instance, BSV, like 100,000 TPS, or in the future, 1 million TPS, like amazing stuff. But what about Ripple's XRP? You would never need more than 54 billion XRP to utilize transactions, especially because it settles with 3 to 5 seconds. Counting drops, some of the figures here, I'm not going to get into that, it's going to take too long. But it says, for instance, and if 100 per XRP is that amount, there are no incentives to become a validator and XRP price not growing. That's why new decent developers are not joining the XRPL. After 10 years, there are no successful useful projects with real life use cases, working products with great working apps, gradual increase, rate of customers, decent profits. Again, I don't agree with everything that's mentioned here, but apparently it's a thing. I did see a write-up about this on Reddit, and it is kind of creating some FUD if you think about it. I'm not trying to create FUD. I'm just showing that this is what's going on in the community. How about this? Brad Garlinghouse said they need XRP sales to be cash flow positive. Customers only moved 10 billion so far on RippleNet, a revenue of only 21.9 million. XRP is Ripple's largest source of income. Ripple sold 500 million worth of XRP last quarter alone. RippleNet has done just 10 billion in volume the last 5 years. After 10 years, Ripple is not cash flow positive without XRP. Analysis summary, and we'll get into this in a bit. I'll give you my own take here before we wrap this up. Analyst summary. After 10 years since XRPL created, there are no real achievements. Here's what we got. Ripple is privatizing ODL, automatic liquidity hub, loans, ledger, line of credit, CBDC, private access only, public is out. No positive effect on XRP price and XRPL ecosystem. We're going to get to the part where I think about this in a second. Lack of smart contracts. Cool Cat Crypto has brought this up, so let's recognize this. Yes, lack of smart contracts compared to, for instance, Stellar. DeFi, gaming, dApps, for instance, right? Says, but there is something on gaming, right? What is it called? Rage, I believe it is, or something like that. There's an actual game on the XRPL. The network has never updated with new major features. I don't know if I agree with all that. XRPL doesn't have successful quality projects on it. Metrics to identify a successful project, real world use case. Do they have working product services? Great working app. Gradual increase number of quality customers. What about all the partnerships, though? I mean, aren't those considered customers? Well, I guess some people don't say that's not partnerships are different from customers. I get that. Decent gradual profits, significant partnerships. They have a lot of significant partnerships. Do they have license, certificates, audits? All right. Solutions to improve XRPL ecosystem. Bring native build XRPL features such as smart contracts. Okay, that was pointed out. DeFi, dApps, and so on. Burn 46 billion XRP in escrow for a healthier ecosystem. That was already addressed on a recent radio show. I wish I could have pulled it up for you guys. Build for the benefit of the public and let public access to utilize private products. All right, enough about all that. I want to state this in closing. Let me just double check the time just real quick because I really got to get going here in the next like 5-10 minutes. All right. So we got into some of that. And you may seem like, oh my God, I'm getting out of Ripple's XRP. No, I'm not. I understand that. What is the main thing? You know, some people like want to bash all this and they want to state that, you know, yeah, that guy's right. You know, I might get out of this too. You know, my thing is this again, like at the beginning of the show, we're talking about, like, for instance, VeChain and so on. If you have something in which it has great utility, but it isn't at mass scale or adoption yet, doesn't mean that it won't ever be used. The utility has already been built. It's already there. We just need to simply open up the floodgates, if you will. Give me just a second. Dang it. All right, sorry about that. So my key thing is, again, the utility is already there. It's already built. All we got to do is just get that green light of that mass adoption and so on. We will get to that point where, you know, we'll use this on-demand liquidity for the central banks and so on. Am I going to be naive and think that all of this was built for no reason? Am I led to believe that Brad Garlinghouse only cares about little significant, you know, upticks in the price of Ripple going from like 32 cents to, you know, as high as, what was it, 52, 53 cents about roughly a month ago? No, not at all. But, you know, concepts of taking on this debt or providing what they're going to do for the central banks of the world and so on, they have, you know, a whole grocery list, a library or a grocery list of all the key partnerships and everybody that believes in them and tied to them and so on. So yes, that did a good job explaining that it didn't do much in price in recent years. Didn't help either that they had the whole SEC after them and so on. So what do you guys think in regards to that? Do you give in to that? Do you believe that, like, no, you know what? Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the right objectionable debate, and I'm out and so on. Not me. I'm not looking at it that way at all. If anything, I'm not saying I'm loading up more because I already hit my goals, but I might if we have a significant price decrease or something crazy happens in the market. But this notion of let's give into this. Look at some of what was mentioned here. The utility is never going to be used. I don't think that's the case. There's a big difference between, for instance, like with VeChain, of trying to eventually build out that utility layer before we can get that mass adoption of disrupting a $400 billion industry of interrupting what's going on in the black market, compared to this through on-demand liquidity is the answer for what central banks are looking for and so on, as well as other sectors of the world. Again, big difference. The key thing is they have the utility, is already built, and it's just getting that mass adoption of the institutional money. And you do see this shift happening. Are we going to dismiss some of the comments from Larry Fink? Are we going to dismiss some of the things that were mentioned from Fidelity and these ETFs and so on? I don't think we dismiss any of that. It's just simply flipping on the switch. There's all sorts of switches, if you will, that need to get flipped. One of them was the whole thing with ISO 222, but that isn't the main switch. So let's, you know, flip on the main circuit breaker. And that, to me, is with Ripple's on-demand liquidity, taking on that debt and so on. And that's why we pay attention to Stellar through Axios and all this stuff. So I do need to wrap things up. I know that you guys want me to go through a lot of comments and stuff, but I have to get to the pharmacy. They close in like 15 minutes. And I have to make sure my dad gets his medication. Sorry I wasn't able to get into the Jasmine content. I had a really good outline for that. But I might just put that in a recorded video. Anyway, I believe, be back with you guys unless something happens. But I'll be back with you guys on Monday. And I do appreciate you guys for being here. You can always watch the replay, Crypto Jedi. And thanks again. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show. You have a great night. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please smash that like on your way out. And you guys have a great weekend, and be on the lookout for more recorded content. There was 6 videos that was released within the last 24 hours on our channel. Jasmine, XLM, there's HBAR, XDC. Shoot, I can't remember the other ones. Anyway, Stellar, obviously. All right, guys, take it easy. Jasmine. We'll see you on the next one. Over and out. No outro. I got to go. That's right. LCX. Thanks, Edward. Squidward.